It's October 31st, 2017. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be here for the next 4 hours. And on this All Saints Eve, ladies and gentlemen, we have real goblins, real vampires, real spooks running around. And that, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is the Democratic Party, Hollywood, and Mike Cernovich out trying to give a speech at Columbia. They had the Antifa folks there with their pre-made signs all up and together, wearing the exact garb, all having the meth head look of Antifa. I believe this is real, holding up a giant banner saying no white supremacy, no pedo bashing, no Mike Cernovich, with the emblems of NAMBLA and others on it, and then the authorization and things by the university to be out there demonstrating. And then in the phone number to stop Mike Cernovich from speaking. This is what these people are into. People say, oh, it must be staged. Really, did the New York Times, the Washington Post, Time Magazine, the Associated Press, Salon Magazine, did they all endorse pedophilia the last few years by accident? Did Kevin Spacey just apologize for trying to rape a 14-year-old? Did Harvey Weinstein hire people to run Disney films that had been convicted for raping 12-year-old boys? No, the truth is it's a cult, and they're coming out of their nasty rat hole. First, here's a report on Kevin Spacey, and we'll be back for the big transmission.
The liberal media is very conflicted right now. They're not sure whether or not they should celebrate Kevin Spacey coming out as gay or be horrified at the allegations that he tried to have sex with a 14-year-old boy. Anthony Rapp, an actor on the new Star Trek series, has come out and made some disturbing allegations about Kevin Spacey he says occurred back when he was 14 years old. I'm not going to show you what this actor says Kevin Spacey tried to do to him because it's just too disgusting. But what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how the liberal media is trying to spin this to celebrate Kevin Spacey finally coming out of the closet. And we'll also ask the question, did Seth MacFarlane know that these kinds of allegations were swirling around Hollywood regarding Kevin Spacey? ABC News originally had this as the headline to their story. Oh, Kevin Spacey has come out in an emotional tweet, only to later change it after the backlash because, well, that's not really the story. Reuters currently has the headline, actor Kevin Spacey declares he lives life as a gay man. They may change this, of course, just like ABC did, but currently, right now, this is what it says. Oh, after years of refusing to address rumors about his sexuality, Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey said on Sunday he has chosen to live life as a gay man. I'm sorry, Reuters, that isn't the story here. You may recall that Seth MacFarlane made a joke a few years ago about actresses having to sleep with Harvey Weinstein in order to get roles in his movies when Seth was announcing the Oscar nominations in what he would later admit was an attempt to try to alert people about Harvey Weinstein's widespread behavior. Seth MacFarlane was also well aware of the rumors about Bruce Jenner transitioning to a woman long before he announced that he would start living as Caitlyn, and he even included a bit in one of his shows which said that Bruce Jenner is a woman. Which leads us to this disturbing clip from The Family Guy from an episode many years ago, where this little boy, Stewie, runs away screaming that he just escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement and he needs help.
Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement! Help me!
If it's not clear enough what this joke is trying to convey, the boy is not wearing any pants. While the mainstream media continues to focus on Harvey Weinstein and frame this issue as if it's just powerful men who are sexually harassing and enticing young actresses, the problems of Hollywood are much bigger and much darker. The mainstream media doesn't want to talk about Hollywood's pedophile problem, something that child star Corey Feldman has been warning people about for years, saying that it's the biggest problem in the entire industry.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
They also don't want to talk about the fact that there are many powerful gay sexual predators in Hollywood who sexually harass men. Actors like Terry Crews, Rob Schneider, Kevin Sorbo, and others are coming forward to tell their stories of being sexually harassed and assaulted by male Hollywood executives, but the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about those stories. And now that a once childhood actor is accusing Kevin Spacey of being a sexual predator, the mainstream media, ABC, Reuters, other outlets, are trying to spin this into a heartfelt coming out of the closet story. My book, The Illuminati in Hollywood, covers all of this in disturbing detail if you have the stomach for it. You can get it in paperback on Amazon.com or download it onto your tablet from any of the ebook stores. And by the way, this is not my new book that I've been talking about. This one came out last year. I've been writing books every year for the last 10 years. The new book is coming out next week, Tuesday, November 7th. I'll give you guys a sneak peek coming up here again pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm Mark Dice. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new and check back here every day for new reports, and I'll see you tomorrow.
It's October 31st, 2017. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be here for the next 4 hours. And the real evil in this world is a lot scarier than phantasms and folklore of Night on Bald Mountain when the devil rises in the pitch black and the demons rise from the ground and dance in the frostbit fields. No, ladies and gentlemen, real evil is upon us, and it's the narcissistic, mentally ill, psychopathic, globalist, so arrogant they don't know when they're whipped, so arrogant they continue to try to bully us into submission. And the bottom line is this: we're not taking it lying down, and we are winning. Well, coming up, I've got the video. Lindsey Graham throws down the gauntlet and says there'll be holy hell to pay if Mueller's fired. He's the Swamp King. He's not elected. He was put in there by the Democrats. He covered up decades of crime, took jihadis off the terror list, but now Mueller is the savior. Mueller is the great hope they have, even though it turns out the Podesta brothers did way more in not filing some federal paperwork on offshore corporations timely than Manafort or his aide ever did. And oh, they got a warning months ago to do it and did file it years later. But that's okay because they're above the law, and the Swamp King and all the Swamp King's minions think they're above the voters of this country. And despite the fact the Swamp King, Robert Mueller, is up to his eyeballs with the Russians beyond anything Donald Trump could ever imagine, it's all right. Because, again, the media and the Republican establishment is imbuing him as if he's a god. Meanwhile, the pedophiles have come out in the open in a bigger way than ever before. As their empire prepares to implode, they're trying to normalize as quickly as possible. But they're a day late and a dollar short, aren't they? But first, let's air a powerful piece by Paul Joseph Watson, at least part of it. BuzzFeed says skincare is a white supremacist conspiracy. Here it is.
Emoticons are racist. Maths is racist. Showing up on time is racist. Having a family is racist. You know what else is racist? Skincare products. According to BuzzFeed, skin whitening products reinforce
white supremacist ideals of beauty.
White supremacist ideals of beauty. That's so problematic.
So Nivea Philippines has a whole line with products like UV whitening body serum, extra white firming body lotion, instant white firming body lotion.
All right. Here we go again. People in Asia are obsessed with skin whitening because stretching back to ancient China and Japan, a white complexion was seen as noble and aristocratic because it proved you weren't a peasant toiling out in the field all day under the hot sun. And maybe if you'd listened to the Asian woman in your own frigging video explain this to your face, you'd know that.
Because where they grew up, like socioeconomically, the farmers were dark-skinned and farming wasn't a highly paid profession. And if you had more money or you were like part of the upper class, you would stay indoors and you would have an office job.
As far back as 700 BC, Chinese women would use ground-up pearls as a white face powder to give them a lighter complexion.
White supremacist ideals of beauty.
What the f does that have to do with white supremacy in a contemporary racial context? Nothing. Why do you think Japanese tourists walk around under umbrellas in the blazing sun? It's a cultural and socio-economic class thing, not a race thing.
White supremacists.
It has nothing whatsoever to do with white people as a race or white supremacy. It's the same reason white people from Europe and colder areas of America Go to tanning salons. It has nothing to do with race. Having tanned skin doesn't mean you're trying to reinforce black supremacy, does it? Just like Asians, only in reverse, they're deliberately trying to make their skin color darker. Because culturally and socioeconomically, it broadcasts a message of health and success. But wait, if white people are trying to make their skin look darker, does that mean sunbeds are cultural appropriation? And if white people who don't want a tan use sunscreen, does that make them racist?
White supremacist.
Now I'm just giving BuzzFeed ideas for the next video. The demand for skin whitening products is all coming from non-white people. Companies who cater to this demand are engaging in what's called free market capitalism. It has nothing to do with white supremacy.
White supremacist.
The only people who are not knowingly buying skin whitening products are white people. Yet out of all the different people in the video, whose awkwardness and shame did BuzzFeed choose to linger on? And it's the white girl.
So you're gonna tell me what's wrong?
That's racist!
Skin brightening products are sold in different markets very differently. So stuff that's sold in North America as like a brightener or something that exfoliates your skin to give you like this glowing complexion, in other markets overseas are often sold as whitening products.
White people who do buy what are described as skin brightening products use them to even out skin tone and hide blemishes. And so do some black people. Like the one in your video.
I do have issues with acne.
Are they doing it to jump on that oh-so-trendy and socially acceptable bandwagon of white supremacism?
White supremacist.
Or are they doing it to get rid of their acne? Oh, but the companies that sell those products use coded language and don't call them whitening products in America. Yeah, because they know if they did, they'd be descended upon by a mob outrage army of militant BuzzFeed readers accusing them of racism. That's why they don't do it, not because they're orchestrating a giant global conspiracy to advance white supremacy by turning all the brown people into honkies.
White supremacist.
That's like saying spray on tan is a Black Lives Matter plot to secretly enact white genocide. One of the few times white women try to look whiter is when they're dressing up like Japanese geisha girls. Cultural appropriation! Really? Let's see what Japanese people think about the horror of being culturally appropriated.
日本が好きなんだなっていうのが伝わってきました。海外の人がこう着物とかなんか日本の文化取り入れてこういうことやってくれるのが、海外の人が日本のやつ発信してくれるのすごい嬉しいですね。なんかもっとやればいい。もっとこういうのが広まっていってくれたらいいのに。すごい日本綺麗。
They don't give it. Because they haven't succumbed to the mass hysteria that everything you can possibly imagine is racist.
The real reason these products might be sold differently in different markets might actually have to do with what makes white consumers uncomfortable.
Yeah, you make them uncomfortable by blaming them for a white supremacist conspiracy that doesn't exist.
Ultimately, white people are uncomfortable with the idea that they might be engaging in white supremacist ideals of beauty, ones that suggest that if your skin is fairer, you're going to do better in life.
Okay, the example you just used to illustrate that claim, the racist Dove advert, was completely taken out of context. Don't take my word for it. The black woman who was the face of the commercial said it was completely taken out of context.
I was happy with it when I saw the ad itself because I turned into a white model and then
All right, Paul's full report is on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. And I literally have dozens of these stories every day with them with straight faces saying this. It's hysteria in the general public, but from the scientific, psychological warfare perspective, it's completely and totally scientific. And just to show you what I'm talking about, here's an article today on Infowars.com. Daily Caller also has it. Canadian Music Festival apologizes after racist white staffer refuses to go to the back of the crowd. They were told, we don't want any white people in the photos being here. We don't want your kind here, like the space bar in Star Wars, Episode 4. And she refused, so they threw her out. This is beyond telling black people go to the back of the bus. And the ignorant masses see no irony to turn what Martin Luther King said and his dream on its head into a nightmare. Well, we're 10 months into the Trump presidency, and everything's turning around economically. And the establishment, the globalists, are just running around like a cross between a cat that's had its tail tied to another cat with gasoline poured on it and a chicken with its head cut off. You'd think it was the end of the world. And it is for them. Their pedophile networks are being exposed. Their one-sided trade deals are being exposed. They are really scared. And coming up in the next segment, we're going to go over pedophile rings being busted all over the world. And at the same time, the pedophile groups are coming out in the open saying, hey, this is normal, don't arrest us. And we saw an example of this with an Antifa group out protesting free speech, calling for Mike Cernovich to be banned from speaking at Columbia with a sign saying, no white supremacy, no pedos, no Mike Cernovich. And it's an organized group marching behind it. It appears to have really happened. But, you know, Salon and the New York Times and all these other groups promoting pedophilia as a healthy, good thing, they've already come out of the closet. So this seems unreal to us because that's how whacked out they are. I mean, Antifa is so piranha-like that when no one shows up to a demonstration that they're supposedly going to attack, they just attack the police or themselves. They're like a pit bull you've given PCP and a bunch of methamphetamine. They're like starving pit bulls on PCP. So they're kind of stumbling around. Their eyes are pointing different directions. But this is what they're into. You know, the Antifa men like to dress like women and then hold AK-47s and say, we're coming, we're going to kill you. I mean, those are real photos. So that's all coming up next segment. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Swamp King. And that really is who Robert Mueller is. He's operating as a king. He's unelected. He's ignoring all the massive crimes of Hillary and himself in real Russia collusion. Leftovers from the old Justice Department put him in power as this free agent. And even The Week, that is a liberal publication, says Robert Mueller is running amok. And they've got the artist sketches there of Manafort and his business associate, who looks just like me, strangely enough, being arraigned. Richard Gates and Paul Manafort being arraigned. And even The Week says, this is kangaroo, this is crazy, this is incredibly dangerous. Meanwhile, great again. Consumer confidence soars. Home prices reach all-time high. Economy beats expectations. Get Trump out of there as fast as we can. And we've got the Swamp King, America born, 1776, July 4th. America dies. 2017, 2018. If Mueller is successful, and they're able to have some kangaroo indictment, able to have Congress then impeach the president and remove him. They intend, and they've said they are, going to then overturn the last election, remove all the Republicans that got elected, put rhinos in, and create basically a one-party state where the Republicans are only a southern state area. That's been their plan. Instead, it's been reversed. The Republican libertarian movement's taking over, and the Democrats are becoming a coastal elite party and even losing those areas. So a dying authoritarian group, arrogant and used to power, is being removed. They've been caught doing what they accuse myself, Tucker Carlson, and countless others of, Senator Paul, of being Russian agents for pointing out their narratives of fraud. Now the Podesta's law firm is threatening to sue Tucker Carlson and Fox News for reporting on their Uranium One deals. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So it's on. And if Mueller is successful, it will set up, like has happened in many third world countries, the federal police as the new dictators. Now, we saw this in Rome. During the decline of the Roman Empire, the Praetorian Guard, or the federal police as they were in Rome, began overthrowing Caesars. So even the dictators or the hereditary dictators were being overthrown, and then whoever was more favorable to the federal police, who wore dark blue robes, is where the police blue comes from, the Praetorian Guard, whoever was favorable with them, and some of the main legions that were obviously exploratory to the empire, they would overthrow the patricians. They would overthrow the gentry class. They would throw over the royalty. And then pretty soon things just degenerated and fell into rack and ruin, and then outside forces were able to sack the Western Roman Empire in 410 with the Visigoth chieftain Alaric. And then it moved to the Eastern Empire, what was Constantinople, that later fell to the Muslims. It's now Istanbul. Now, that's just some history. But this man would be Praetorian Emperor of our Republic and would mark the end of the Republic and a new bureaucratic Praetorian who can commit any crimes they want because they're above the law, judge, jury, and executioner, Judge Dredd. An arrogant, sickening, evil man delivering uranium on tarmacs just in 10 companies, completely criminal, investing no money, getting millions back with Russian companies on the payroll. And so they've got to put this on us because we're trying to restore the republic, trying to make the country great again, and delivering. And they're like werewolves shot by a silver bullet. They're like Count Dracula being drug out of his keep at high noon and his coffin being thrown open. The sunshine of freedom and Americana becoming popular again, and our will not being broken, and being proud and having success and moving forward and rejecting the poison of globalism. The psychological warfare of the New World Order, it is bringing the country back like defibrillators, bring back a dying heart, a heart that stopped beating, and they don't know what to do. They are panicked. They are scared. They are running for the hills. And they've put everything they can into Robert Mueller, who would be the first king of America. King George III, when the United States accepted their surrender deal, said that George Washington was the greatest living man in the world. And when George Washington, a year later, refused the kingship of the colonies from the majority of Americans that wanted to make him king, King George put a proclamation in the newspapers saying, I'm glad I said that because it's true. George Washington is the greatest living man. Because no one ever turned down kingship. No one. No one in the contemporary history and before that, and basically since then, because he wanted to go back to his farm. He wanted to launch the republic. He wanted to empower the average people. And that's why they attacked him for the ideas he had. Didn't mean he even implemented it all. But because of being such a trailblazer. And now we have these sycophant nobodies like Robert Mueller, who would be the king. He is now the king of the swamp. The leader of the Democratic Party was McCain, but his brain tumor slowed him down. Now all their hopes and dreams are on the swamp king, the literal swamp king creature come to kill America, Robert Mueller. Ladies and gentlemen, pray that the good Lord will set him straight. Robert Mueller is attempting to kill the republic. The veil is being lifted. We're getting a good look at what was inside our government, breeding under the floorboards for a very long time. And it is nasty. But the new season of awakening, the new season of the truths being revealed is upon us, a chance for humanity to really get itself ready for the big challenge of AI, the singularity, and so many other big changes. We're deciding right now whether we're going to make it. And we're getting that big gulp of air to steady ourselves before we walk out into the arena and face the next level. But we're going to be awake and conscious at that point. And so the challenges are going to be exponentially harder, but we're going to be exponentially more ready. People obsess themselves with sports and diversions and think that they're enjoying themselves and getting ahead in life by basically being involved with a primitive form of virtual reality with things that don't matter. But if you return Americana and the Renaissance and free, open ideas, it will empower society so greatly and will empower you so greatly, it's unstoppable. That's why they try to divert you. The true promise of America is within our grasp. Just 10 months in, he's only gotten a few of the things done he wanted. And already, great again, consumer confidence soars, home prices reach all-time high, economy beats expectations. It is, my friends, an amazing time to be alive. But Lindsey Graham comes out, even though Trump has said he's not going to fire Mueller, and he says, if you do, boy, you're in big trouble. Well, what is Congress doing, Mr. Graham, for special counsels or special investigations or hearings about Mueller? The Uranium One, all the corruption, the 10 companies where he'd make no investment when the bylaws said you have to invest $10 million in one of the companies. The others were like 5, 6, 7 million. And they just go, oh, you're just on our board now. Thank you. Here's money every year. Classic payoffs by foreign Russian companies. So he'd end the investigation into Uranium One. So he covered up real Russian espionage of our strategic weapons-grade uranium. Doesn't get any more spy thriller than that. And that arrogant Swamp Thing with their matching suits and matching ties, like a bunch of schoolgirls when they walk in to Congress and places supposed to scare everybody by saying, oh, it's the FBI, because that's the sycophantic government that sees him as king. That's the Praetorian Guard. That's the God. That's the man that would bring them to Valhalla and end checks and balances and end anybody being able to block them. Those horrible voters, they voted in Trump and the country's coming back and they're getting in trouble and their pedophile rings are getting busted everywhere. And what are they, and they're getting caught selling us out to foreign governments. What are they going to do? Mueller, he'll fix it. Mueller. Oh, it was going to be McCain. The Democrats basically said he was the head of their party, but he got that nasty brain tumor. Fast-growing type. Little gift from God. And then, oh, but Lindsey, the compromised individual here. Let's hear from Fox News and Lindsey Graham threatening the president. The president gets in. The leftovers from the Obama administration are there. Should have fired all of them. Didn't. Only fired 40-something. The Clintons fired, what, 93 of 100. Should have fired every stinking one of them. Can't trust any of them. From the Bushes, Clinton, Obama. Fire them all. Didn't do it. And boy, those swamp creatures launched a special counsel from day one that is basically a Russian operative. I mean, you can't make that up. So let's hear Lindsey Graham and his threat.
Do you support this piece of legislation that would protect Mueller, though, that would stop the president?
Since I introduced it, yes, I would support it. But I have zero concern that Mr. Mueller is in jeopardy of losing his job. I see no reason for him to be dismissed, and the only reason you could do it is for cause. And if there were some effort to do it without a good reason, it'd be wholly hell to pay. So I'm not.
But what?
Okay, so even major liberal publications are having to admit, even CNN admits, Mueller's broke the law. He's broken search warrants. He's SWAT team with guns, even though all the documents have been given over by Manafort and others. He killed criminal investigations that the FBI was doing into Uranium One when they had them red-handed, on and on and on. And then the guy that he basically put in power, Comey, his little minion, lied to Congress repeatedly, lied about classified documents, lied about what was in the memo. The presidential memo, was the person illegally leaking information. He goes, oh, I didn't leak it. I gave it to a professor to leak it. That'd be like if I was a mafia don and I ordered one of my captains to order a soldier to go kill somebody, to shoot him 5 times at a gas station, say. And then they catch me on tape ordering, I want you to go and tell him to take care of that thing right now. I don't want him to be breathing air, and within a week, I want it taken care of. Is that clear? Kill that SOB. A week later, he's dead. They got a recording of me saying it. And I go, oh, listen here. I didn't do the killing. Some soldier I'd never even met in another city did it. And did I give the order to my captain to tell? I did do that. It's the same thing. Oh, I just leaked the info to professors and people, and then they give it to the press. Oh, now we see. It'd be like if you're running child kidnapping or something. You don't actually have sex with the kids, Comey. You just make money off of it. So it's okay, right? Because you don't actually, get in there with the dirty mattresses and rape the kids, right? We understand. And as I told all of you months ago, all the pedophile stuff's coming out now. All of it. You could have just let Trump arrest all the pedophiles and deal with them, but instead it's going to be political now, and it's all going to come out. And let me tell you, by the end of this year, they're going to be 30, 40, 50 top Hollywood stars you're going to learn that haven't just been having sex with 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds, but with 5-year-olds. You're going to learn, and then it's going to come out about snuff films, about little girls they killed. And I hope you all enjoy it, because you want to fight, you better believe you got one. We're not taking it lying down. You're going to get it. And that's why you're so scared. That's good. That's good. Because we're going to get you. You understand that? Good. I know you do. You're going to burn for what you've done. You're going to burn good and burn long. So I'm going to tell you again, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. But you can't turn loose of it. You want to run the country in the ground. You want to dominate it. You've always hated America. That's why globalists put people like them in charge, because they hate the country. They will energetically go out of their way to ruin the nation. Even though they can make 10 times more money. On average, Wall Street banks have made the biggest profits they've ever made, but they're unanimously against Trump, even though he's shoveling success at them through their own system to the people, because they don't want you getting nothing. That's their policy. And they are so angry because they want you super poor so their money's worth 10 times more. They don't want wealth and power. They want to rule you and run your life. That's why it's an act of war against them when you buy products at InfoWarsStore.com. And when you buy products from globalists, it's an act of trading with the enemy. You go to InfoWarsStore.com and get game-changing, amazing products. We've been sold out of DNA Force for almost 4 months because the ingredients are nutraceutical grade, the highest quality, the bio-PQQ, all of it. It's been sold out for almost 4 months. It's 25% off. The truck got in this morning. It was offloading when I pulled up. And it's back, but it is a limited run because of all the testing and all the rest of it. It's the highest quality. InfoWarsLife.com. Read about what it'll do for you and your family. It is amazing. We also have been sold out for 3 months on Biome Defense, super high quality probiotic. It's 25% off, out of the gates, back in stock, but for a very limited time. Because we're held to the very, very highest scrutiny of passing California testing, as everybody knows. And even when our test, it was big firms show it's passing. There's obviously firms out there, some saying it doesn't, even though nobody can basically pass it. So you get the highest quality, the very cleanest stuff out there. And we're really, really proud of it. DNA Force and Biome Defense probiotic, now back in stock, InfoWarsLife.com. It is an act of war. It is an act of standing up when you spread the links, the articles, and buy products from us. And then we commit to rampage against the enemy totally. If you're receiving this transmission, you are the resistance, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Let me plow into the pedophile news. It's a new giant chapter every single day. Corey Feldman has come out in very powerful testimony with Matt Lauer. The clip's coming up later. It's on Infowars.com. And said, listen, I've gone to the police for years. I wrote a book. They blocked it. Now I'm trying to make a film. And he said, I'm getting ready to name the names. They're not going to be able to stop me. Now, he got arrested on marijuana charges last week. Somebody tried to run him over with a car. Now a bunch of the women that have said Weinstein raped him, they've all suddenly been arrested in L.A. So I've got a stack of news on that front. So make no mistake, the pedophile empire is striking back. You're like, wait a minute, the cops are busting pedophiles, but then cops are also arresting people. There's good cops and bad cops. That's how it works. There are more good cops and bad cops, obviously. That's why you see the record arrest of pedophiles, and they're sticking their necks out there to do that. And this is what's happening. It's Rose McGowan's one of them that's been arrested. We're showing the courage. You're showing the courage. We're all showing the courage. And then everybody knows this is the season to come out against the men raping women, the men raping men, the men and women raping children, and the occultism and all of it. And so humanity is awakening and finding its courage again. To counter that, the last few years, we've seen NAMBLA, we've seen the UN, we've seen the New York Times, we've seen Salon Magazine repeatedly come out and say pedophilia is not a big deal. Because as the left gets more and more decadent and more soulless and more lost, they need something that's new and bad and exciting. And some new area they want to complain about. NAMBLA would like to be able to come to your house, this is what they told the UN officially, and demand your 5-year-old son or daughter come out on a date with them. And that your son or daughter has the right to accept their advances. Now, that'd be giving them alcohol, drugs, I guess anything. I mean, California now is saying they can give vaccines to your 11-year-old if they say they want the vaccine, even if the parents don't. So they're getting rid of the age of consent. They're getting rid of the children being your children, you being their guardian. And they're making the big leftist hordes, basically, the guardians. And so that's why I believe this is a real video and a real photo on Infowars.com. Mike Cernovich, banned from speaking, along with many others, there at Berkeley. He went to Columbia. They said, we welcome free speech. The Antifa crowd showed up. They look like meth heads. They're wearing the normal uniforms they wear, the same type of outfits. They have a bunch of stage-managed signs like they normally do, saying no rape apologists at Columbia, end apartheid at Columbia, drop the investigation of students protesting white supremacy, no rape apologist on campus, because they say all sex between a man and woman's rape. And it's a woman here, but she's holding the sign along with other Antifa that are wearing the normal gear they wear, right down the little backpacks that, you know, have the old-fashioned car seatbelt fasteners. I mean, they've got it down. And it says no white supremacy, no pedo bashing, no Mike Cernovich. And it is part of the Antifa movement to have sex with children. All the members aren't involved, but they're into being scummy. They're into being scuzzy. So if people want to claim this is fake with no evidence, when they're there marching with it and reading it, knowing what it is, it shows what soulless followers they are, or they did it on purpose, which I believe they did. NAMBLA is a big organization. They're part of the UN. They've been accepted as an official NGO when people like the John Birch Society haven't been, so they can, you know, spy on the UN. They throw Lord Monckton out. He can't be part of it with science and public policy, but NAMBLA can. So when all these big companies sexualize children, and Nickelodeon sexualizes children, and Disney and Viacom hire convicted pedophiles to run children's shows and children's movies, and when Harvey Weinstein hires convicted rapists of 12-year-old boys to make movies with children in them, and all this happens, and Kevin Spacey apologizes for trying to rape a 14-year-old. I mean, is all that made up too? No. And when it turns out the Prime Minister of England liked to kill kids, not just rape them, or that the top royal advisor, Jimmy Savile, was killing children and delivering them to be sexually raped before they were executed. No, it's all real. The London Telegraph reported 2 years ago that it's now a national security threat controlled by MI6, and it appears that the entire upper echelon of the government are pedophiles, or know about it, and use it to compromise people. It is the coming of age. It is the rite of passage. It is the initiation ceremony to commit a horrible crime. You're like, wait a minute, the mafia makes you kill somebody to be a member. Or other gangs make you commit a crime before they trust you. Rob a liquor store, rob an old lady. The worse the group, the more heinous. This is the ultimate mafia. And it isn't just raping kids. You don't get into the deepest levels until you like to murder children. Murder children. So let's play the video of Columbia where they're protesting, saying no, no, no free speech, with the sign leading their march, no white supremacy, no pedo bashing, no Mike Cernovich. And they're there with the sign, they're leading it, and you can see how dead their eyes are and how weird they are. This is Antifa. I mean, this is them, that they did this. And are we surprised? No, quite frankly, not. Did all of them know? Certainly not. But this is who the leaders are and how they want to move the Overton window and how they want to condition you and how they want to break your will. Here's the video.
Our streets! Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
Now, again, if you know about communist or Antifa or by any means necessary or Black Lives Matter, they're all run by Soros groups or sub-Soros groups, Ford Foundation, Carnegie Endowment. And they're all completely programmed. They always have centralized signs. They're not allowed to talk to anybody. They have certain chants they do. And when you see them leading their group of about 50 with this big sign, there's other videos of it, it appears to be the leaders of it with it. So this is them organized. You try to get in their crowd, they don't know who you are, they kick you out. They're a cult. This is, and it says NAMBLA and Resist and the Antifa. And you get into the Antifa's chat rooms, you go to their message boards, pedophilia is their favorite thing. And it's men in dresses with AK-47 saying they're going to kill you and saying, we've got your kids. And again, they're into being the scum of the earth. We've gone out and shown Antifa in Austin where they say, I kill my kids. I love to get pregnant so I can kill more babies. And I love Satan and I'm ugly and I stink and I have hair under my arms. And then you go to the Capitol and they catch a prayer group trying to ban partial birth abortion, and suddenly women in business suits go, Satan, Satan will kill you, kill the baby, Lucifer, I love you, and all women start saying, Lucifer, Lucifer, Satan, destroy them. They're not trying to freak you out. It's real. And then you see other women that are in the group suddenly go, and it grabs them. I mean, this is like The Exorcist, folks. This is real, okay? fact, we should probably play those clips. I didn't tell you guys to queue them up, but if you can find the abortion team's the name of one of the videos, or communist attack Alex Jones. And they came with black tarps to cover our signs, just like they did in Columbia University. They want to block free speech. They're anti-free speech. And they say, I'm ugly, I stink, I love Satan, I kill my kids. So just whatever's evil, communism, murder, death, Satanism, this is what they're into. And the guy's licking his lips going, I've paid for hundreds of abortions. I just love to get women pregnant, kill babies. Because it's a sacrifice center. It's a sacrifice center. And so many of these big abortion clinics, they keep busting the doctors, taking babies home or keeping them alive so they can run in the back room and then have sacrifice, drink the blood, and have sex on top of the baby. And I don't want to be so gross here, but law enforcement knows that. And they've been caught. They've been busted a bunch. I'm not saying this group. These are just Renfield low-level minions. But they busted major doctors. It's been in the news, conducting ceremonies, keeping the babies alive. Hell, they keep them alive to harvest their body parts. And then they also use them to heat the hospitals. Again, any way to desecrate the human flesh, any way to desecrate God's creation, anything to target the image of God, anything for them to absolutely engage in abominations, the genetic engineering, the vaccines to brain damage you. It's all to brain damage you so that you can then enter into this. Yeah, they're playing the women saying, I love Satan, hail Satan. There it is. It's all in the videos. Again, you can go watch it for yourself. This is the reality. And you just have to get to the point where you realize you're not a devil worshiper, you're not a Satanist, you're not a pedophile. You can't imagine why they're this way. Because they love death. All those that hate me love death, said Christ. Kill, steal, and destroy. There it is, Planned Parenthood. Lamborghini lady negotiates harvested baby parts, prices in video. And then there's dozens of these videos, and they get off on it. It's always with wine, and they talk about the babies, and they go, hold on, goblets, I want, it's not the money, it's a ritual. Yeah, I've got the babies. Yes, Lucifer, the power. Kit Daniels, if you just joined us, one of our great writers at Infowars.com, came in and said, you know, I think this Antifa sign really was printed by them and that they really do support pedo behavior. And he said, but who printed the sign saying no pedo bashing? You know, Walmart won't print Confederate flags. General Kelly's in trouble for saying that Robert E. Lee was an honorable man. They wanted him to be he was the head of West Point. They wanted him to be the head of the Northern Army. And he didn't get in the war at the first, so the North committed war crimes, and then he led the South. Nothing to do with slavery. Like he said, slavery was a horrible thing and tried to get rid of it decades before. But again, reality doesn't matter. Meanwhile, no pedo bashing. Who prints signs for NAMBLA? NAMBLA is accepted in the UN. The John Birch Society and Lord Monckton and other groups aren't. That's their agenda. And we keep telling you that's their agenda. And you notice now it keeps coming out. The Deputy Pope has been busted. It just goes on and on and on. And now Harvey Weinstein underage. And now Kevin Spacey didn't deny 14-year-old. By the way, I forgot to even get to this. Daily Mail got an exclusive interview and photos. Let's show it. My father was a pedophile Nazi, a child rapist Nazi. Type in Kevin Spacey, child rapist Nazi. And then his father raped him and his brother and dressed like Hitler. And that Kevin, his older brother, tried to protect him, but that Kevin was like an empty vessel and just basically became his father. You cannot make this up. Just type into the search engine, Kevin Spacey, child raping Nazi. Click news, and it'll come up. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's completely insane. It's hard to believe, but it's the reality of what's going on in this world. Tell you what, let me punch it up. Well, let me have control of this TV. I'll punch it up. It's no big deal. I can pull it up. I did whole videos. There it is, exclusive. Kevin Spacey's father was a Nazi child rapist who hated Jews and sexually abused his own son for years, and their mother knew, claims actor's brother. And this is how the pedophiles reproduce. They don't have children. They abuse your children, wreck them, bring them into the child pedo cult, and then teach them how to lure in children, how to control it, how to threaten people, how to be fake, how to be a good actor, how to get the kids in the ice cream truck. Because I think if you investigate people's parents and who Hollywood brings in, look at that psycho. I've always said Kevin Spacey's a total psychopath. I mean, just look at that. There is nothing home there except fake confidence, just like Hillary Clinton. Here, let me do a fake psychopath face for you. I can do it all day long. I refuse to do it. Hey, how's it going? You bet. Hey, I'm a confident guy. I'm Kevin Spacey. Yes, I'm Kevin Spacey. I love the children, and I love Hollywood. And we're the mark of liberalism and of culture. We're going to run the arts, and Nickelodeon and MTV is going to teach your children, and Kesha is going to teach your children how to worship Satan, and how to wear teeth around her neck, how to cut yourself. Cut yourself for Satan. Show Satan how much you want to die and how much you hate Jesus and how much you love your mommy. I'm Kevin Spacey, playing a tough guy psychopath when all I've ever done is really been Daddy's little boy. Daddy taught me how to do it, and I'm going to do it a lot, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. Because I'm Kevin Spacey. Oh, I forgot. He's in a new video. Kevin Spacey's in a new video for the Clinton Foundation, which is a known child kidnapping operation. They're so liberal, though, when they get your children in those basements. So liberal. Shepard Ambellis is our guest for the rest of the hour. I've known you for a good 10 years or so, helped promote some of the films that you and Jason Bermas have put out. But I wanted to get him in studio, because he's a fellow Austinite, because he, at intelhub.com, has laid out just the incredible story of what really happened in Vegas and the cover-up. I myself have information from sources that I'm not at liberty to talk about, unfortunately. I've been involved with lawyers. I've been involved with witnesses. I'm just going to leave it at that. I've had to sign non-disclosures. So let's just say I know a lot more about Vegas than we even have so far said. And I'm a journalist. I wear that hat when I'm not being a pundit or ranting. And so if I say I'm not going to talk about something when somebody gives me intel, if I'm not allowed to until a later point, I won't. But let me tell you, what happened a month ago, it happened on October 1st, a month ago exactly. And it's got all the telltale marks of Antifa/ISIS connections, gun running, you name it, all a nexus point. Our law enforcement sources told us there were multiple shooters and that he had been had visitors and he'd been at the hotel longer, and all the things that have come out now. There was Antifa literature that he traveled to the Middle East. I said that October 2nd, and then later it all came out. There's a huge cover-up. They admit there's a cover-up. The timelines are all different, but Shepard has dug into this at intelhub.com. His stories on Infowars.com have been linked by Drudge and have really helped expose the fact that we're being lied to. We know we're being lied to, Shepard, but up front, your best analysis, your best theories. We know we're being lied to, but your best theories on what could be going on, because this is still open. They don't give us any motive. And then get into some of the other new anomalies and things that are just so bombshell. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, Alex. It looks like the same type of operation that we saw during 9/11. We're seeing some anomalies in the flight data, in the radar data. We also know that there was at least some kind of preparedness drill going on at the hospital over there. And I have not totally confirmed that there was a drill going on at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival.
What about ambulances 8/10 of a mile away by the dozens, at least 15, loading people in stretchers out of Hooters?
Absolutely. Multiple shooters, multiple locations.
And we've had all the acoustic, SEAL Team 6 leaders, Green Berets, Delta Force, acoustics experts. There's two different types of firearms overlapping. It's not echoes.
Absolutely. And what we're looking at now is all the flight records. We're looking at communications that the local airport tower had, where they literally said that there was shooters, plural, on the runway, on the airport property. that they were trying to round up. These flight records are really interesting. If you can
scroll down,
if you can look at all these videos, you know, if you people out there looking into these videos, you're noticing things, you're seeing things. If you really take a look at these flight records, they're really revealing. Between 9:40 and 9:41 p.m. that night, October 1st, 3 Airbus EC-130 helicopters, they're owned by Mustang Leasing LLC. Now, I'm not saying anyone's involved in anything. I'm just reporting on what happened. They took off from their location at 6075 South Las Vegas Boulevard, which is also a Maverick Helicopters location. Mustang Helicopters, Mustang Leasing, Maverick Helicopters, Maverick Aviation Group, they're all connected. This company owns about 47 of these EcoStar E-130 aircraft. About 20 of them are in Vegas. They run tours around.
And you're bringing them up. We're not saying they're involved. We're just simply saying people did report firing out of helicopters.
Exactly. So it's important. These helicopters took off at 9:40. They headed north. They looped around. There was a group of 3 of them. They cost $3.2 million each. They employ quiet technology on their tail rotor. Just saying. They coincidentally, they came into a hover just over by the Mandalay about 9:50 p.m. Okay, that's 15 minutes before the shooting. Now, where they went into a hover at is exactly, if you were at the Route 91 venue and you were looking over toward the Mandalay Bay, toward the Delano Towers, and you were looking in between those towers, you would see just right in between those towers.
Corridor.
These helicopters literally came to a hover at 10 till the hour, right in that sliver. And then their transponders went dark.
Oh.
Now, coincidentally, the shooting, I've checked into this. I've grabbed video. I mean, I have over 400 hours, maybe near 500 hours into this shooting investigation already.
And by the way, that's why you're here. You've been the most prolific. You've broken so much of it. And it just goes on and on. Them lying, saying he didn't check in 3 days before, then he did. We broke that. Shooting inside the hotel, other hotels, dozens of witnesses, and now a bunch of witnesses have died.
Yeah.
I mean, 28-year-old women, couples, their cars are blowing up. I mean, wow.
Yeah, everyone's turning up dead now. It's very suspicious. But where these helicopters stopped, these 3 helicopters stopped in this very key airspace area. They actually hovered right over the roof of part of the Mandalay. Over by the aquarium, there's this little oval-shaped roof section that they were hovering over. Now, their transponders went dark. Now, the shooting did start at 10:05 p.m., like they said. Did
helicopters come back later over the top of the building?
Well, listen now. These helicopters went dark. I think that they may have stayed there in a hover through the duration of the shooting. There's actually... you can see this on video, and I can show you guys where you can find this. And
well, I'm sure they were just watching the concert.
Oh, yeah. But
we should talk to them as witnesses. Whoever was on those helicopters should come forward so we can just find out what they saw that night.
Exactly. People are having trouble getting anything out of this helicopter company and this and that. Now, the FAA and the company that logs the flight data says they have no explanation for this next aircraft that I'm going to tell you about.
Oh.
So those 3 aircraft went dark. Now, at 10:22... an airliner masking itself as Southwest Airlines Flight 4119. We know this is actually a helicopter masking itself as an airliner.
That's not suspicious.
This radar blip appeared just south of the Mandalay at 10:22 p.m.
All right, stay there. We're going to come back. And if you're a TV viewer, you can see all these graphs and everything. Science and technology is amazing. We have recordings by the FAA of all of this. And we're just looking at anomalies because this is an open case and, trying to talk to the witnesses. And I wonder why this stuff really never happens unless it's 9/11 or something like this. Why transponders are turned off, fake transponders. These are a lot of times federal crimes. So we just want to find out exactly why there were so many glitches and hopefully talk to the folks that were witnesses. And Shepard Ambellas, who's also a big researcher into globalist, pedophile rings, you name it. Amazing work over the last decade. I used to read some of it, it was crazy, and so much of it's now turned out to be true. So Shepard is a deep researcher. A little bit later in the hour, we'll get into Kevin Spacey. I mean, I was just in here a few weeks ago with the producer of An Open Secret about the hundreds of convicted pedophiles who are producers, who are directors, who still direct children's films, and special laws they have written in California to let them do that. Only for California. I mean, this is crazy stuff. An Open Secret banned off Twitter. They've been there for 6 years. Banned off Twitter. Permanently banned. They're going to be joining us tomorrow. That's the Open Secret film. It's the Open Secret site that's been banned. And it is just getting crazier and crazier and crazier, where they're unable to get their information out. And the censorship is just intensifying everywhere. And you've got Weinstein and all of it coming to a head. This is a war going on. I want to get back into some of the anomalies and things we're looking at in Vegas, but just as a prelude to what's coming up, what is your view on the deep state war, how obvious it is they're trying to sabotage the Trump recovery? I didn't jump on some Trump bandwagon. He jumped on the liberty bandwagon all of us have created of rediscovering freedom. And I believe he isn't out to get us. I believe he really does want justice. That's why they're hating him. And look at the economy coming back, and look at the total war and how crazy this is. We're beginning to win, but we can't be too confident. We've got to be watching our six.
Well, Trump would just be going out there doing everything he could right now, which he is, but they're not really letting him, Alex, is what they're doing is basically, tying his hands behind his back. I knew this early on, like with the healthcare thing. I knew that the Republicans weren't even going to let Trump get anything he wanted. They were just going to stall him out. All these characters are basically working against him. So you got one guy, his team, and then you got the whole entire deep state that's inserted into the government. They've sprinkled themselves in. They're basically full opposition to anything. And
they brag that they're in opposition and going to stop the recovery. I mean, it's so treasonous.
Yeah, well, they don't care at this point. They all think they're above the law, which primarily they are. I mean, we've seen it for years and years with every single thing that's happened, every conspiracy.
It's come true.
Every scandal, everything's come true, yeah. And, they keep operating, and they're just going to go ahead and do it. They're just going to blatantly do this. They control everything. They have everything wrapped up. They have the FBI wrapped up, the CIA, the NSA, basically all the intelligence agencies. Really, people shouldn't really think of intelligence agencies like a U.S. intelligence agency, like the CIA.
No, they're big crime networks now.
Exactly. And it's more like the globalists, They
infiltrated us.
Yeah, they have
These are globalist infiltration nodes. It's not that the CIA or FBI is all bad people. It's that the command and control top, their tentacles in to control us.
Exactly. And, they're going to keep doing it until someone stops them. And and
Trump is standing against them, and he's gotten a lot done. And I think, let's get into motive, and we'll get back into your incredible stuff in the next segment on the airline and the helicopters. And I've looked at the data. It's amazing. Unprecedented anomalies. Why do you think Vegas happened? I mean, what was the real motive that's being hidden from us? I mean, I happen to know, but I can't tell you. Go ahead.
Well, it could be that they basically want to create all of these incidents, this panic, so that ultimately they can take us to the next level. This is a next level thing that they've basically created. It's like the next level 9/11. And, I've talked to people, I've talked to some drivers in Vegas. One came forward and said he knows for a fact that the FBI made 30 reservations at Blue Green Club 36, which is over by the Mandalay, on the Thursday prior to the shooting. The same amount of people also came in after the shooting on that Tuesday. So somehow
was it a gun deal that went bad?
It looks like it could have been, and more often than not, we see the FBI always in on these things where they're supposedly tracking these criminals, but somehow they let something happen. They don't ever stop.
It's like Fast and Furious. And by the way, when you have the new JFK documents out where the CIA was staging terror attacks and wanting to stage terror attacks to take our liberties and give them an excuse to be in the country, that's in the new Trump release documents. When you've got Fast and Furious, CBS confirmed it was staged to blame the Second Amendment. I don't want to hear we can't ask if this is a false flag. to take our guns by criminal groups when they've got a history of doing it. Well, it's like you got a child molester living on your street, and then your child gets molested, and they say it's that neighbor, and they're like, how dare you say that when they're a convicted child molester?
You know, I had the same problem when I was going through these flight records. We know that in 9/11, they had all sorts of transponder issues. They were running drills. You know, I found some of these anomalies in the Vegas shooting right during those same minutes. There's some very suspicious activity in these flight records. And, you know, I almost didn't want to believe it. I had to go and check them 10, 20 times because it's the same footprint every time, Alex. It's the same footprint.
And they always add as much confusion as possible so nobody, even the investigators, can't figure it out. They'll just do random weird stuff. It's simply incredible. We're going to go to break and come back and start at the beginning on the helicopters, the airplanes. They admit supposedly it's an airplane, but it's not. It's a helicopter. I mean, just a lot of weirdness going on that night, and then hit the other angles of it, and then open the phones up for people that want to talk about Vegas. If you're one of the still living witnesses, the toll-free number to join us is 877-789-ALEX, specifically on this topic, 877-789-ALEX. I haven't figured out everything about it. I've just talked to some of the witnesses and some of the people involved confirming it, and it just gets so weird. It's like down the rabbit hole, Tea Party stuff. It's just cuckoo land, and it's definitely not one guy, and it just sounds like some kind of, this isn't from my sources, but it sounds like some kind of weird PCP nutball space cult or something, man. There's a lot of people involved, like end of the world stuff, and they think they're going to bring it in. It's like helter skelter. Mm-hmm. It's just whacked out. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
and the feds don't even know how to deal with it because it's just so whacked out.
There's too many elements. There's too much to it, and there was too much going on at once that made it really a bizarre event.
It's like a big art production, folks. Okay, it's a ritual. Most big mass murders are. It's a ritual.
Well, yeah, we know they're all into all sorts of rituals. You know, the occult.
Well, look at what's there: the pyramids, the Sphinx.
You know, people have found some interesting symbolism on the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival website ahead of time. So, I mean, all of this.
You got people running around saying, "Get out of here! You're dead in 45 minutes." That's been confirmed.
Yeah.
The feds took hundreds and hundreds of cell phones and deleted what was on them.
Not to mention,
why wouldn't you want evidence to find out who did it?
Well, not to mention, there's a bunch of high-profile crimes going on in Vegas right now. There was a Point Break style robbery. They're going in and robbing these cell phone stores for some reason, and there's also a bunch of other high profile gun robberies, gun stores that have been robbed lately as well. And you know, it's looking like either something's going on with some cells or something, but I don't know exactly.
Here's the deal. The globalist left are a bunch of Satanist pedophiles. They're getting ready to make their big move. It's the 100-year anniversary of the Bolsheviks. The same people are about to hit us.
Yeah.
Everybody better be ready. I mean, I'm telling you, folks, they want to kill people. And they want to rape your kids. And I don't say that for effect. I mean, they're bad people, okay? And we don't understand it because we're not into that. We got to stop them. We'll be right back. Shepard Ambellis, that I've known for 10 years and worked on films with, has done really incredible, deep research on every angle of what happened in Vegas. He'll be with us a little bit the next hour. He's also written a lot about the pedophile empire that runs D.C., London, New York, L.A. You don't get in the club unless you like to rape children. That's just entry level. So when they're raping women and full-grown men and walking up and grabbing, you know, football players by the genitals, that's just how they shake your hand in Hollywood. And the media like, oh, Jones, has it happened to him now? Yeah, it happened. Happened 3 times. And it wasn't even done sexually. It's like an act of dominance. So you've got Meryl Streep and all these people defending Roman Polanski that kidnapped and raped a 13-year-old girl and got convicted. You've got all these other people bringing in directors that have raped 12-year-old children and 9-year-old children, and they're given Disney programs by Harvey Weinstein. Mike Cernovich is flying back from Columbia University where he was last night. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and others came out and chanted and called for him to be banned. They're anti-free speech, just like when we have our events here in Austin, they show up with big black pieces of tar paper and try to put it up in front of us. And they had a big professional sign that they were marching with. It was at the front. That said, no white supremacy, no pedo bashing, no Mike Cernovich, and it's got NAMBLA and all the groups here, and they look like central casting Antifa. We've identified some of these folks now this morning as being part of Antifa in that area. They've all got their professional-made signs because they're a cult. So they don't let you in the group unless it's all pre-approved by their communist controllers. And I'm serious. We've shown that at Berkeley, where there's whole rooms of communist controllers, as well at bookstores and things, running them from afar. So Mike Cernovich went to speak. He was able to speak. They blocked folks at Berkeley like himself and Ann Coulter and others, and Milo. And so they're marching with this sign. People say, oh, is this a joke? No, the New York Times, the Washington Post, major clothing designers, the UN, NAMBLA, all these groups, Salon's written, 5 articles saying pedophilia is not a bad thing at all. So it's here. This is the next thing to come out of the closet. Bestiality, everything. And so, Mike Cernovich, we're going to play this video and get your take on it. I know you're about to board another airplane. Here is a clip right now, not just the photo that's gone mega viral with millions and millions of views just at Cernovich's own Twitter and at Real Alex Jones, but the video itself, people thought it was photoshopped. No, it wasn't. Here it is.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
Now again, these are vicious groups that will attack you if you're not part of their cult. They will not let anybody get up there with a sign unless it's pre-approved. I've been attacked by them. You've been attacked by them. Millie and Gavin have been attacked. All of our crew have been attacked. Rob Dew, you name it. They are a cult. It's all pre-approved. What they chant is pre-approved. So I believe this was probably real. Mike Cernovich, it's just par for the course. Give us your take.
Right. I was getting messages. I was at dinner, actually, and I was getting people messaging the picture of it. And I'm not surprised given the left's relationship with pedophiles and the pro-pedophile position. But now the media is trying to claim that it was a false flag sign, which I think is interesting because anytime somebody has a sign at a Trump rally, the media goes, oh, there is no false flag. And those are all real. Those are all real. But now the media is saying, well, no, this is a false flag protest. So I'm actually inviting members of the media to come on to InfoWars and talk about their theory about false flag protesters because I think it would be a good conversation to have.
Oh, that's a great point because they say false flags don't exist. Conspiracy doesn't exist unless they're charging Paul Manafort for it.
Exactly. So there are no conspiracies. Nobody false flags. Nobody would go to a Trump rally and start a fight just to make Trump look bad. No. That's all true. You know, poop swastikas, that's all true.
Well, we know Kevin Spacey and all these elites, it's all coming out, this whole pedophile empire. Now we learn that one of the main Twitter accounts of Open Secret, a big film they've been suppressing for 3 years, that's being deleted. Corey Feldman has been SWAT-teamed. They've tried to run him over with a car. He's being threatened. I mean, this is real. What point have we reached, Mike Cernovich, historically, where they want rights for pedophiles to grab our kids out of their backyards, but then they don't want you to speak? I mean, I think we're reaching a tipping point.
Yeah, and people are waking up, and that is why the media is freaking out today because they're saying, oh, that sign can't be real or whatever. Well, because they know it's true. Otherwise, why would they care, right? If somebody like that came to my event with a sign like that, somebody would smack the person, and everybody would know it wasn't true because we're anti that. We speak out against that. We were talking about the Hollywood pedophiles long before the Kevin Spacey story broke, long before Weinstein broke. You've been talking about it for decades. So
we've been hammering, you and I, the last 6 months that the next shoe to drop is Pedogate, and now it's happened because everybody has the courage now. Everybody's moving against it. Everybody knows about spirit cooking. They tried to use the whole fake Pizzagate thing they created to divert everybody, but that failed.
Right, and they were calling us a conspiracy theorists for all this time. Oh, Jones and Cernovich have conspiracy theory about pedophiles in Hollywood. Well, guess what? It was real all the time. And then now the left-wing media, the fake news media, they're the conspiracy theorists claiming that I somehow planted a sign, even though I was trailed by media the whole day yesterday. There was a crew, they're doing a documentary for one of the magazines. So I was with media all day, and yet somehow I was able to go out and put on an Antifa mask and stand and put up a sign or something like that. So they're essentially, the fake news media is trying to just say, we don't want to address the pro-pedophile positions that the media holds, that they advocate and endorse. So we'll just call it a false flag and dismiss it.
That's right. So now with no evidence, they're saying it's a false flag. What have the Antifa creatures said?
They've refused to disavow that sign, which I think is quite revealing.
Oh, wow.
They should. Yeah, they haven't disavowed it. They haven't said we oppose it. They haven't said that they oppose pedophilia and that they stand against pedophilia. So I would say it's startling, but I'm not surprised.
Sure. I mean, I noticed that you and a bunch of others were reaching out to him last night on Twitter to the local group saying, is this fake or did you know who did it? And they're not disavowing it because the left now, the most hardcore component of it is our children belong to the state. And
I've asked them to disavow. Right, that's the point, Alex. I've asked them to disavow it, and if they would disavow it, then maybe I would believe their false flag conspiracy theories, but they won't disavow it, which is quite valid. I disavow the Nazis and any idiots and people who are fools. You do the same thing. We don't have any issue with that. So why won't Antifa disavow pedophiles? Why won't the mainstream media disavow pedophiles? Why won't they apologize to you for calling you a conspiracy theorist for talking about Hollywood pedophilia? Why won't they do that? It seems easy, right?
It looks like, though, all the chickens are coming home to roost. Shifting gears briefly, as I know you're in an airport and have to go. Mike Cernovich, dangeratplay.com. Let me ask you this final question. The whole Mueller thing, is he not the swamp king trying to become the unelected king of America with what he's doing? And do you have any sources or intel on the next shoe to drop?
Well, as I predicted yesterday when Manafort was indicted, I said, actually, this is not a story about Trump and Russia collusion. This is a story about Tony Podesta. Watch for something to happen with Tony Podesta. 3 hours later, after I tweeted that, I had it before anybody. Tony Podesta resigned from the Podesta group, and they're now renaming it. So, yeah, I know what's going on. And actually, so Mueller is trying to make it look like so he can go after Trump harder. He's going to have to pick out some Democrats, too. And Tony Podesta has now lawyered up, quit the Podesta group. They're totally freaking out. They're threatening to sue Tucker Carlson for reporting on it, which I hope Tucker Carlson says good, sue him. I want Tony Podesta to sue me because I want to get Discovery.
I was about to say that is going to create the Streisand effect.
Right.
Oh, I forgot. They deleted the photo, blocked the photo on your Twitter account and others, so they don't want this photo out as well. With them marching, it's a real photo. We have the video, too.
Yeah, exactly. They're freaking out about that image, which is amazing and really kind of says it all that they don't want that image to get out there. They're trying to cover up now the connection between Antifa and pedophiles. And, of course, remember, the FBI recently revealed that Antifa had been connected with ISIS. Members of Berkeley Antifa had traveled to Syria and had trained with ISIS. So Antifa is now connected with ISIS and also with pedophile network.
Wow. Mike Cernovich, really appreciate you joining us. Glad you were able to exercise your free speech. Most campuses, we know it's now banned. Godspeed, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Twitter.com/DERNOVICH. Thanks, Alex.
That's right. People can find the censored info right there. We'll be right back with the latest intel on Vegas. Stay with us. Shepard Ambellis is our guest. We'll keep him a little bit in the next hour because we injected Cernovich right there in the middle of what we were just breaking down. But just how incredible are the times we're in. It's crazy. And you've got the old deep state, the manipulators, trying to figure out how to get people back under their control, but nothing's working. And every poll, every study, every focus group, every metric, every election around the world shows the idea of offshore globalists running things is over. They always wanted to keep it in the shadows so they could operate, but now it's not in the shadows. There's no putting it back together again. So what will they do? Shepard, continue. Recap what you were getting into in the flight plans. We're getting to some of the other anomalies in Vegas.
Okay, so from all of my research, it really looks like the shooting actually started at 10:05. I was questioning that at first, but I've matched up planes with planes in the background of videos. So I'm really confident the shooting did happen at 10:05. Now, I told you guys about the three Mustang leasing helicopters that took off from the vicinity of Maverick helicopters. They did a loop up around the city, came down, went into a perfect hover back behind Mandalay. If you were at the venue, this would be behind Mandalay, in between the Mandalay and the Delano, in a very specific sliver.
And you got some photos. We can put the camera on that. You can show people. Well, we had them earlier where they get right between the two buildings.
Yeah.
And then come in and hover.
Okay, so...
Yeah, we'll lay those out. Just lay them down on the table. They can get shots that way.
Okay, so basically these helicopters then turn their transponders off. Now, where it gets weird is I think that it's possible these helicopters hovered there the whole time, but, you know, I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything. Their transponders went dark. But after the shooting occurred and just at about 10:22, a blip comes up on the radar just south of the Mandalay. It's disguising itself. It is projecting. It's transponding a call sign for Southwest Airlines Flight 4119. It's virtually impossible. It's absolutely impossible because this craft specifically slows down to nearly a stop, makes an abrupt course change to the north where it slowly inches itself forward until it comes into an exact hover exactly over the southwest rooftop of the Delano Hotel.
And this is from the recordings of the radar from the FAA that we're showing people on screen right now, ladies and gentlemen. It comes in like a plane, then flies exactly like a helicopter, and then again with the transponder of another aircraft. I mean, wow.
Now, we also know there was a guy on top of the Mandalay Bay's roof. He was supposedly a photographer. He was supposedly filming time lapse. He had earbuds. He was wearing earbuds. So security came up there. They told him, hey, he needs to get off the roof. There's been a shooting. Now, this is more around the time of the shooting, and which is very suspicious. But this guy could have acted as a spotter because that craft that literally hovered exactly over the rooftop of the Delano. There's an image in there. You guys might be able to show the Delano imagery where there's that arrow pointing to the corner. But this craft hovered for 1 minute exactly. I mean, this flight radar, when you zoom in, it tracks things to the foot. This thing was hovering at the exact place you would make an extraction from the Delano rooftop, which is connected to the Mandalay Bay through a series of halls and corridors, which there was gunshots fired in those halls and corridors. I have confirmed that. And
by the way, they've admitted that now and changed the timeline over and over again, and now admit shooters in the building before and after, and then other hotels, glass blown out, cops shooting men in masks. I mean, this is crazy.
Well, it gets even weirder, Alex. So this aircraft, for 1 minute, it is hovering over that exact section of the rooftop in a tight hover. It's facing.
Don't they know it's all being recorded nowadays?
They tried to mask it, but it didn't work. So they mask themselves as an airline. Now what happens is that transponder goes dark. That craft then heads to the west. I know this. I'm assuming this because it's already facing to the west.
You're showing the Flight Trader 24 radar and GPS scans. I mean, it's got it all right there.
So what happens is this craft heads to the west. Now, as it's heading to the west, just before that, 10 minutes prior to that, another group of Mustang leasing helicopters, a group of 7, loop up to the north of the city. They take off from their property, which is by the airport. They go up north of the city, and they get redirected around the shooting to the west a little more. Which is where I would assume this craft that actually went dark at that point merged into that line of 7, now making 8 helicopters, where they then return to base back over by Maverick
Helicopters. And you've got the 7 turned to 8.
Yes. Now, now listen to this, Alex. This police helicopter came down and it missed that craft that possibly made an extraction off the top of the Delano. It missed it by 3 minutes. Now, this police helicopter comes down at 10:40. Now we're talking after the shooting. We're talking, the shooting ended at
35 minutes later.
Yeah. So this thing lands in the Harley Davidson parking lot. Now this Harley Davidson parking lot literally shares a parking lot with Maverick Helicopters. I have video footage with a timestamp of armed mercenaries, literally with light machine guns, saw M249 saws.
That's on your site. Where is that? I want to show that.
Loading up. I
know you have the articles. They're on intelhub.com.
Yeah. Try to.
We'll pull up during the break. That's amazing.
There might even be video of it in one of these articles. But so there's a 15-second clip of video. And basically they loaded up into this police helicopter, militarized elements. This is at 10:40 now. These are
that
not,
could have been people looking for more shooters.
Absolutely. But this helicopter goes up at that exact moment. It heads up toward the New York and all of that. And it ends up there at around 11:16, which coincidentally in that time frame, 11:16 to 11:18 p.m. is when You know, they start reporting bullets coming through glass at the Bellagio, New York, and all this stuff.
We got all the witnesses.
What's the chance that this police helicopter loads up mercenaries armed with M249 SAW weapons into their helicopter, and they're doing this in the Mustang Leasing LLC Maverick Helicopters parking lot, where 3 of these helicopters had already hovered over the roof of the Mandalay right before the shooting?
Again, think back from your memory. Your site's got hundreds of articles. I want to see this video. I haven't seen this.
Okay.
What's the article? Think of it.
Gosh, go on YouTube and type in right there. There it is. They got the video.
Good.
So now, Alex, look at this. That craft back there in the background, I've identified this and everything, and I know by flight records, that is the police helicopter.
Yeah, I can see it.
Its tail number is N911WY. These mercenaries are loading up. This is at 10:40 p.m., where they then fly around the city a little bit, but then they head up to the vicinity of the New York area over there. And they're in the area when they start getting reports of gunfire at
And that's the
casinos.
thing, is that it's insane, the whole thing. And then one brother's busted for child porn, the other for drugs, the other one's running around like a maniac.
It just
leave it at that.
You know, there's more elements to this thing, Alex. I mean, it's not.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more to it.
It's not like this Paddock guy carried this out. You know, obviously the sheriff knows that. He's obviously,
and he's changed the story more time than Pinocchio.
Yeah, and you know, the FBI guy is standing right over his shoulder.
Stay there. Let's come back now and move away from all this area and just get into him checked in 3 days before, them lying about it, him shooting down the hallway, other shots fired. Just what is the people being warned? We'll talk about it all. It's important to revisit all of that and other anomalies straight ahead. Before we go any further, listeners, this is hardcore info, and it's groundbreaking information, and it's all financed by your support and the work you do. InfoWarsStore.com. I'm very excited to announce that DNA Force has been sold out for almost 4 months. It's very hard to source the super organic, high-quality pharmaceutical, medical grade, BioPQQ and CoQ10 and other things. It is back in stock, 25% off, ladies and gentlemen, and we have a limited supply of that. But you're just such great patriots that support us. I want to cut the price. We also have Biome Defense, amazing, super high quality, highest quality we can produce with top firms of probiotic. That's been sold out for months. That's now back in stock, limited run of that. And there's a bunch of other sales that are ending today. BioTrue Selenium, 40% off. Survival Shield X2, 40% off. Secret 12, 40% off. Super Male Vitality, 30% off. Anthroplex, 50% off. Those have to end today. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. Hour number 3 is only 70 seconds away. Please spread the word. It's an act of rebellion against the globalists. Not in this segment, with the next. Zach in Florida, Frank in Virginia, Jeff in California, another Zach in Tampa, Florida. Your calls are all coming up. If you're specific witnesses or have family that were there on the Vegas shooting, very mysterious situation that's left the media, which tells you they don't want you investigating. Whatever they were trying to push, gun control, didn't go too well. 877-789-ALEX. You've laid out what you think the evidence points toward. I have intel that agrees with you to a certain extent, but since you brought it up yourself, we'll do that in the next segment, then go to calls. But continue, Shepard, breaking down the analysis.
Okay, so you have to understand that the original first 3 helicopters that were hovering there that went dark are in a very select sliver of airspace between the Delano and the Mandalay, back behind there if you're standing at the venue.
And you have videos that show flashes going off them in the air.
If you go to IntelHub and you go in the article that talks about this transponder theory and everything, and you go in there and you find that video at 6 minutes and 47 seconds to 7 minutes in the video, if you have a big screen on your computer, you put it on full screen, you will see what appears to be muzzle flashes coming from the vicinity.
So it's not like lights on the helicopter.
No.
What's weird is you don't see helicopter lights. You just start seeing.
Listen, I've taken the aircraft data, all the flight records, and I have looked in there. It's supposed to be nothing in that airspace back there at that time, and they're at 3 different elevations. It clearly looks like muzzle flash. And by the way, in that same...
And that's where the helicopters disappeared.
Yeah, around that same time, around 6:43, 6 minutes and 43 seconds into the video, you can also see a shot and I attribute this to Rick Ardito, who was actually a witness to the Vegas shooting, but I was talking with him on the phone, showing him this video, and he found this shot. We actually have identified a shot coming out of the room adjacent to Paddock's room, which is 32-134.
And that's not the strobe light 10 floors below.
No, it is an actual muzzle flash. So at first I was skeptical that they even fired out of there. I'm one of these guys that doesn't believe the official story, and I went ahead and checked all my own data and everything. But now we have some sufficient evidence that gunfire was coming out of this suite adjacent to Paddock's. However, after doing over 500 hours of research now into this matter, I still have yet to identify a muzzle flash coming from Paddock's room, 32-135. I still have not seen that. Now,
and remember, folks, the official story they now admit isn't true. They just want you to forget about what happened.
Well, exactly.
Because we don't know exactly either.
They're not even coming out. And the fact that it looks like the FBI was in the vicinity of Mandalay Bay ahead of time. You can see the shots right there, Alex, in the video. Look in between.
And I want to explain something. Just because the police were doing a counterterrorism drill that night, it doesn't mean they were involved.
Yeah.
You'll have criminals in the government that schedule a drill, so it confuses everything. When the actual thing goes down, you'll have a group that piggybacks or bootlegs. And this has been declassified, by the way, folks. So this is how they run these things for like over 200 years. The British even longer. And then the people are standing right next to the operatives that are actually doing it, but it's compartmentalized. And then if the operatives get caught, they say, oh, it's just part of the drill.
To top it off, they had a sharpshooting event in town. All the best snipers in the world were in town days before. One of these guys, he's a sharpshooter. He got arrested for a bomb threat on October 5th. Just days after the thing, he actually threatened that he was going to blow up something just like the Route 91 venue. He was taken into police custody. He was from Georgia. They also found a guy with fully automatic weaponry that was milled and basically designed at his own hands. This guy was arrested in Tennessee one day after the shooting. It looks like, it all could have been connected. It looks like there was lots.
And I tell you, it looks like there's a big old juicy cover-up going on.
Absolutely.
I mean, we know there is. And the media will go, Jones looked at this theory. He looked at that theory. He has lots of theories. Yeah, because we've been lied to, and the whole story's changed a bunch, and we've been at the cutting edge of it. We'll be right back with our good guest here. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. IntelHub.com is Shepard's side. Revolution, ladies and gentlemen. The 100th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. We're here. But instead, humanity striking back worldwide. Their 100th anniversary was supposed to cap off global dominion of the megabanks over their slaves. Instead, it marks the turning of the tide. Shepard, Embolus, investigative journalist, IntelHub.com. I want to go to these phone calls for you here right now in about a minute, but just best theory on motive, who's involved, what's really going on. Is it a coordinated terror attack going on by different groups? They don't want to scare the public, so they covered it up. Is it a giant heist? Is it a drill that somebody hijacked? What's your best research?
There's two possibilities in my mind, Alex, after reviewing all the data. But strangely enough, after I go through all this, I don't see ISIS going around hanging from the rafters, screaming to high heaven that they've committed this terror act. I don't see when the sheriff comes and he says, look, we're not going to talk about this anymore. And when they say there's just one shooter, Paddock, where's this group that's like, wait a minute, it's not just one shooter. We had like 30 guys all over the city and we took over the whole city. Look, after you review this for a long time, you realize that this element that did this was a high profile, paramilitarized criminal element that possibly capitalized on a capstone event or the knowledge of some type of capstone event or drill that was going on, or they possibly took that hot. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's an element within the government. They just might have knowledge of how the government operates. They might be connected, they might be within it, but it almost feels to me like a criminal element, Alex.
Almost like a civil war between two mafias in their playground where they're not supposed to fight with each other, kind of like Hot Springs used to be. You know, it's this neutral zone, and it's a big pissing contest by mafia.
Yeah, you want my best guess. I think that there was an incursion into the Mandalay. I think they put 2 snipers on the roof. I think that helicopters hovered in position. I think there was firing from helicopters. There was also firing from sniper positions. I don't discount that there was people around town in other positions as well, Hooters and whatnot. But
we know it was a bloodbath all over the place. I mean, they're covering that up.
It looks like they sent a team into Mandalay from my intel, which eventually was extracted off of the rooftop of the Delano. Now, yeah, you could go and you could shoot up this venue and you could get extracted, but something makes me feel like there's some Ocean's 11 action going on here, Alex. It's a little, there's a little more to it. These elements probably did have really good knowledge of how the SWAT teams were going to operate. They dispatched.
And so who's Paddock? I mean, he's got an intelligence operative background cutout of somebody they would use as a mule, basically, and his whole Looney Tunes family is as corrupt as the day is long. That's being shown. So
he could have even been on the planning phase of it. He could know some of these inner
just like
details.
Tim McVeigh, and they hang one guy off the drive.
Look, they dispatched 30 strike teams that night in Vegas. Literally, they showed up at pretty much every casino. If you were gonna do a hit on a casino, and I'm just throwing this out there, everyone knows there's no way to do this. Everyone knows it would have to be the most brazen thing. So what would you have to do to pull that off? You would have to apply fire in the direction that people would try to come in and storm the casino to get the perpetrators. You would have to lay down heavy fire, which is what they did at the Route 91 venue, to cause such a distraction and such a diversion that within a 20-minute, 30-minute...
And then the feds and the police are so embarrassed, they cover it up.
Yeah, because the only way those police could enter the Mandalay Bay...
And then again, it's all done to get back at the casinos.
Well, they came in, the police came in the front door, but it took them some time, Alex. By then, they were already long gone.
It shows this country's in a civil war, and this is how a 21st century civil war looks. What do you think is going to happen November 4th? I think all hell's going to break loose.
Well, you know, like I said, there's been a lot of high-profile robberies lately of gun stores, and
that's the left getting ready.
Stores, almost like they're putting together cells or fake cells or
bombs.
Antifa cells or something. Yeah, little bombs. So we do need to watch out for this and you know what's coming down the pipe and how far they're going to take this, because ultimately, look, Trump's in.
We're about to get hit with a full-on George Soros-funded commie attack.
They're not going to want Trump to get any more control than he does. They're losing control of the deep state. They have to maintain their control.
And they say they're going to kill a bunch of cops this weekend.
I wouldn't doubt it. You know, when they think they're losing control, they're going to step it up even further. They're going to apply more force. They're going to apply more pressure. And it looks like that's what we're seeing. And why?
All right, let's take a few calls here. We've got the time, date, stamp of Vegas surveillance, Soros funding MGM. Let's go to Zach in Tampa, Florida. Zach, you're on the air with Shepard of Intel Hub.
Yes, Alex, Shepard, it's great to be on with you. Had to connect some dots because what they pulled off here in Vegas was just too far. So first and foremost, what we have is, and this is public knowledge, you have the Foros Fund Management Group, the LLC, putting $42 million worth of put options on the MGM on
I forgot 14th. That. Yeah, I mean, a record put option the week before. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's just part of it. So, I mean, you can't look past that. That's obvious. But also what we have here is the private military company, the Saudi Arabian-based ETS Risk Management Company.
And that's confirmed, too. Everything the caller is saying is documented. Because this is the final pieces. You had all this royalty there, and you had the Saudi Air Force there that week.
So, yeah, this ETS Risk Management Company is a PMC that's real shady, and they don't work now within the government because who's in the White House, but they did work during Libya with the Clintons. If you know, I got some guys down here in the forensic accounting. If you look into the contract. So
let's start over. Zach's recently gotten out of the military and the whole intelligence area. We'll leave it at that. Called him with a lot of good info in the past 6 months. So just start back over, because this is really important.
Right. So the timeline's pretty, unprecedented. Let alone with so you get the $42 million worth of put options done by the George Soros Fund Management Group, and also you have a contract being fulfilled by ETS Risk Management. But this contract was not fulfilled by DoD. Okay, so this is sort of this is where it gets tricky. But they were working, and there are PMCs that work kind of in vacuums in Libya, in Syria, and they do certain drills stateside as well. But they were there that weekend. Everybody knows they were there that weekend.
Are you talking about like those CIA paramilitary teams?
So this is a private company that's ran, that is actually ran, and you could pull them up, ETS, but they are ran out of Saudi Arabia. But they did work during 2013 in Libya, and that's fiasco. So when you're saying, and people bat their eyes saying that this is Islamic, this is Islamic, not in the sense that it's done by Islamic groups, but in a way, ISIS itself was a creation of these private military groups. And if you want to, back in the day, they terms like Al-Qaeda, and this is real. So you have these private military companies that are backed and ran by the deep state, creating this chaos around the world. And with full validation, 100% ETS Risk Management was on the ground in Vegas that night. And this gentleman who you have on, who's talking about these choppers being in the area, he's spot on. And the issue, the next thing I got to bring up is the forensic accounting that's going to be brought up, because there's individuals that are aware of this. In today's day and age, when you have these transfers and you're transferring large sums of money, people in the intelligence agencies who are either in or out are not going to stay quiet. And this is big, and this stuff's coming out right now.
Wow. You know what? Stay there, Zach, because we've got a guest coming on, but we'll push him back one more segment. We're going to get him on, because I want you to be able to come back and lay all this out, because I already knew all this, because I saw it in mainstream news that Soros had a record shorts against MGM the week before. We're going to show that article when we come back from break. Anybody can search it in 5 seconds and find it. And then we're also going to come in and show all these groups that the caller just talked about, and the Saudis having some giant military meeting with their people that week while this is happening. I mean, what in the world is going on? This is some real deep state stuff going on here, multinational garbage. And then Jeff and Frank as well. Shepard Ambulis is our guest. I'm Alex Jones. Please spread the word. This is key information they don't want you to hear. Infowars.com/show. Shepard Ambulis of IntelHub.com, great researcher and filmmaker. Is in studio with us. Been working with this guy off and on for 10 years. And we're all getting different pieces of what happened in Vegas. Some of them have been accurate. Some of them haven't been accurate completely. But we've been ferreting it out. We've been incredibly accurate when it's come up with the fact that our law enforcement sources said he had Antifa and Middle Eastern stuff in his room, that he traveled to the Middle East. That came out a week later. So much more. We got one more segment and another special guest joining us who's being persecuted for his political speech, facing jail time after Antifa assaulted him, even though it's on camera. There in Berkeley, they're trying to put him in jail. So that's coming up in the next 2 segments. But right now, finishing up with some of these callers, Zach has given us great intel, says he's out of Army intelligence and other things. He's retired now, but been calling in for 6 months, giving us a lot of really great points. But I don't just go off, what he says. I am reminded of the $40+ million record put option on MGM the week before by Soros, and that the fact that the owners are big SJWs and fund Soros and other groups and get their employees to give money and then match it. Or that the Saudi Arabian Air Force and military was having a big convention in Vegas that week and all the rest of it. What was the hostage rescue team, the HRT team, on Monday morning trying to tell me? They also wanted to know, how'd you say they'd probably attack at 10 o'clock at night? I just said Antifa coming up the next month, says they're going to get violent. They're going to attack overnight. They'll probably hit after 10 o'clock at night. It wasn't like some magic thing. But, yeah, I got contacted by the FBI about that, too. And this is serious business. But, Zach, in just 2 minutes, recap what you said and give us other intel on motive, because you've given us amazing information in the last 6 months.
Sure, absolutely. And, I'm going to discuss some of this stuff because it's gotten too far, and ethically it's just out of control at this point. So you have to put everything into perspective in the context of during this whole war, these wars in Libya and Syria where they're destabilizing the region, there were legitimate private military companies given hundreds of millions of dollars to kind of, create this war there. So when you have a new administration come into power and they're no longer, getting those paychecks, it's not like they pick up new hobbies. Okay, there's still guns for hire, and they're still working, and technically there's still ongoing investigations. So I believe that Trump and the White House is aware of what's going on. This is a battle within, I guess you could call the deep state and the legitimate government, because the reason that there were multiple teams there is because they were aware of what's going on. And the reason that some of these Saudi interests are allowed to be there, how can they be there, what's going on? They have certain diplomatic immunities, and there's ongoing, projects and missions going on. So just to recap.
And there's a civil war within the Saudis. A lot of the Saudis want to do what Trump says and actually stop this. And so is this a civil war to embarrass Trump, or what's going on?
Well, this is ongoing. It's definitely to embarrass. I think it's way more severe than embarrassing Trump. This is a full-out war on Trump, and there's obvious push to assassinate him and carry out their agenda. But with this specific PMC that was there working, this is pretty important. And if you notice the timeline, you have a war within what is the White House now, and all these quote-unquote intelligence agencies going on. On 60 Minutes on Sunday, you also have the Emir of Qatar coming out. Okay. Who was sanctioned by the Saudis, the Bahrainians, and all this other stuff. When we have our U.S. assets and our legitimate PMCs in Qatar there, the Emir of Qatar talked about this PMC that he kicked out of his own country, and then you have the Saudis attacking him.
And remember 3 years ago, Bandar Bush threatened the Russians for the Olympics, and he threatened the EU that if they didn't go along with the Syria takeover by the ISIS-Al-Qaeda forces, quote, we'll launch terror attacks inside of your tourist zones. So is this the same thing the Saudis threatened Russia with?
100%. And this is, it's sophisticated. And the weirdness of it is they have backing, this quasi-backing from the U.S., not the legitimate U.S.
The deep state Obama folks.
Exactly. So, and
you've got Mueller that's took Islam off the radical list and won't let them investigate mosque. I think they bit off more than they can chew, and so I think that's why the HRT told me there's an Islamic connection. It gave me all this info that later came out to be true about him being there earlier and the shooting inside the hotel. But then they got shut off. They don't know what's going on now. But there's other stuff I can't tell people that's just unbelievable. Here's the thing: they want us to believe other stories. Let's just leave it at that. Down to the point of I can't talk about it. But you're absolutely on target, Zach.
The symbology, and nobody's kind of picking this up, but the symbology from a real meta perspective of having the Luxor in the background is just so bizarre.
Yeah, that's the Middle East, that's the Arabs, that's the Muslims killing the rednecks.
This is serious, and I'm just going to tell you right now, and I don't want to rattle anybody, but between November 1 and November 5, PMC contractors or as far as max contracts go, there's a lot going on in the next, 6 days. 5-6 days, there's a lot going on. There's obviously active threats as we speak, but this is a real issue because you technically can't put this stuff and televise it,
Well, I've always said this, though, that Antifa is the cover for the real paramilitary muscle, and the fact that they brought in all these giant Islamic paramilitary contractor groups, what you're saying all is clicking. How many people you're talking to in the military there in Florida with the Special Operations Command and people, how many people are aware of this?
Everyone's talking about it, and it's the reason I'm on right now. There's kind of a certain panic now. There's just no moral efficacy here. It's gone out the window, and the sides have been drawn.
And now there's a drill for the power to be knocked out November 4th.
Oh yeah, there's a drill, and they've planned this stuff well in advance. And I'm just telling you, it's been as active as it's been probably since 2011 when it comes to PMCs being active. This is stateside, so they could say they're.
Well, here's the deal: if the globalists let these Islamic groups hit us on November 4th, Trump has to take the gloves off against their leadership. Boom. And I know the military already knows that, but the military loyal to the U.S. should be target on right now. All these enemies. Everybody should be pointed at them right now. And then they need to be, if they launch concerted Bolshevik terror attacks in this country, they've got to be decapitated. I'm not talk big here, folks. We're major in the bullseye for saying things like that, but I'm not putting up with it.
This was a blackmailing tactic. The shooting was an intelligence.
Exactly. Go after the casinos. Go after the bread and butter. Exactly.
To show you what they're capable of. They're not backing down. They pulled this off in Vegas on the first there to say, hey, this is where we're at.
Well, that's what I got told by my sources. They said, we can't give you the intel. If this is from the White House days later, we're told this is a trigger from larger Islamic attacks. But what that really meant was it's already an Islamic attack. We don't want to go there.
And it is Islamic, and this is where they blur the lines, because when you say Islamic, they immediately go to a foreign threat. We have to realize how influential the intelligence agencies were actually.
Well, look what they've done to get Europe to run up a white flag and everything else. This is an important call. Zach, thank you so much. God bless you. You know, we should get Zach on as a guest tomorrow. Get Zach's info. See if Zach wants to come on as a guest for an hour tomorrow. And listen, Shepard, come back in the next week for part 2 of this. It's been very powerful. Intelhub.com. What do you think of what he just broke down?
Absolutely amazing. You know,
By the way, I couldn't sell this on air. I don't know Zach. That's the stuff I wasn't at liberty to say. He just said it.
Well, thanks.
Can you believe that? I'm not talking about
90% of these of the gang stalking that's going on in America right now happens from private companies. It's from private firms. You know, so all this could be connected.
Wow. All right. Thank you, sir. Amazing. We've got a man who's a patriot who has been persecuted for just going out and demonstrating and being attacked by Antifa and fighting back. He's facing 5-6 years in prison. We're going to talk to him on the other side. There's some videos, too. Thank you, Shepard. Amazing.
You need to get out.
I actually don't.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here?
Darkness falls across the land. The midterm elections are close at hand. And creatures crawl out of every swamp to terrorize those who supported Trump. And whoever shall be found with a MAGA hat worn downtown must stand and face the hounds of hell and fight Antifa's nasty smell.
You are surrounded by your friends.
The phallus stench is in the air. The funk of social justice hair. And libtard ghouls from every dorm are closing in so you can form.
Because you're an alt-right troll boy.
And though you fight for free speech rights, your liberal friends grow bitter. For SJW's #resist and virtue signal on Twitter.
There's nothing you people won't take. Kyle Chapman, a.k.a. Based Stickman, has gotten so many amazing videos of Antifa over the last few years acting like little ghouls and goblins. And he's part of the New Right, hails from the Bay Area, California, and is known for protesting in favor of free speech at pro-Trump rallies in Berkeley and California. Based Stickman is his handle. Preferred weapon of choice is a flagpole of freedom of speech, which he uses to fend off violent leftist groups such as Antifa and By Any Means Necessary. He has delivered passionate speeches at pro-Trump and pro-free speech rallies all over the U.S. As neo-Marxism continues to infest virtually every nation in the world, he is leading the movement to crush the globalist agenda and continues to fight for the rights of free speech and peacefully assemble. He has been charged with a felony from the second Berkeley protest for possession of a billy club. He was released on $135,000 bail and is fighting in the courts. He has been ambushed in his vehicle by 5 Antifa, it's on video, attacked with bear mace and had his vehicle vandalized. Our reporters were there and were attacked as well. So they're going after him. He needs your support. They want to make him a political prisoner because the horrible police at Berkeley literally protect the Antifa scum, many of them cop killer supporters or cop killers. They literally support them. They love it. This is why they want to take over the police and create this nightmare. So there you go. So Kyle Chapman, thank you for joining us. Tell folks what happened to you and where this is going.
Alex, thanks for having me on. So sure, what happened is at the first Battle of Berkeley, at March 4th, I showed up to defend myself and my right-wing brothers and sisters against a violent domestic terrorist group known as Antifa. As a result of those actions I took, I was charged with 5 felonies. None of the original felonies could stick, so now they have created a trumped-up billy club charge, and it took me back into custody, raised my bail to $135K, which thanks to my supporters, I've been able to bail out on that $135K bail, and now I am proceeding to fight this in the court systems.
And again, there's countless videos of this, of beating up women, children. If somebody's in a wheelchair, they like attack like piranhas. And when we talk about demon meth head people, I mean, you cannot talk about lower scum. I mean, they really are the scum of the earth. And I mean, describe what it's like they're in California, in San Francisco, in Berkeley, in their anti-free speech, anti-American nest.
So it's frightening. The Bay Area is a massive echo chamber of neo-Marxist thought and ideology. You know, unlike Austin, where you're surrounded by sanity, there is no surrounding areas of sanity. The entire Bay Area is communist.
Exactly. Only downtown Austin is like San Francisco, where I get attacked if I walk outside. Everywhere else is just classical liberals, conservatives, normal people. Everybody's cool. But you go into the Piranha area, which is one of their outposts, they will attack.
Yeah, it's bad. You can't walk down the streets with a MAGA hat on. You can't walk down the streets with an American flag without the risk of being attacked. And, you know, a lot of people like...
Remember, the Ninth Circuit basically said no American flags. They ruled in California that you can't wear one. You can be kicked out of school, you name it.
Right, yeah, it's the new hate crime, right? Being patriotic and showing love for your country. So you can't be patriotic here without getting attacked. My car has been vandalized multiple times just for having a Trump sticker on the vehicle. But I just wanted to make something clear to all your guests. A lot of people like to make fun of Antifa. You know, they have the purple hair. They always look ridiculous with the piercings and the trike tattoos. I have been on the front lines with these people multiple times. I had 40,000 alt-left agitators show up to protest me in Boston. And I can assure you, as ridiculous as these people may look, one thing that is not a joke is the hate they have in their hearts for people like me.
Oh, and they control our children in the public schools. No, they're very dangerous.
They are very dangerous. These people will line us up and firing squad us without a shred of remorse. This is a serious problem. We need to take this.
Well, that's what Larry Grathwold infiltrating him found. I know you're friends with his daughter. Absolutely. In fact, their religion is how they want to kill us. They'll tell you.
Yeah, if they can get away with it, like I said, they will kill all of us. It is a very much an anti-white movement. This is sort of the schism that you've seen of the anti-white indoctrination that's happened in this country over the last several decades, where they've created this ethnomasochistic, self-loathing group of whites that have now identified themselves as Antifa, and they want to destroy the very civilization that their ancestors fought and died to create.
And they're trying to put you in jail for how many years?
Well, Alex, I'm not an altar boy, so I haven't necessarily lived a perfect life. So I have a few things on my record from when I was younger. And by stacking all these charges up and enhancements up, I could be facing up to 8 years in prison.
Wow. And I see the videos where there's a bookstore, and then the communists run the attacks from there, and they direct it like generals, and they just go up and beat everybody up, and then they even attack just other demonstrators that are on their side if you're not there to attack. It's just crazy. But the minute you fight back, the police run over and attack you.
Yeah, that's true. But let's make something clear. The rank and file police force in Berkeley are good guys. They're solid guys.
Listen, I know some of them, Marcus, I've seen it on tape, but what about when they come in and shut down conservative meetings that are official, and the cops come in and shut down? I mean, I've seen some videos of some bad people.
They're being ordered to do these things by the rank, by the police chief and by the mayor. I've talked to some of these officers.
No, I know they're not all bad, and most cops aren't bad. I'm just saying, well, then why is Antifa allowed to run around and do all this thing?
Well, because the mayor of Berkeley is in bed with the organization BAM by any means necessary, led by the communist hobgoblin known as Yvette Belarka. They're all in bed together.
Oh, by the way, take Seattle. What is it? 14 Democrat mayors arrested for pedophilia the last 6 months. This other mayor just resigned after like the 20th case of a kid saying he raped him or whatever. I mean, these are, when we say goblins, these are literal child-snatching creatures.
They're demons, Alex. And, you know, I've heard you describe these people as demons over the years. And by the way, I've been listening to you for well over a decade. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
No, brother, thank you. We're in this together, man. Thank you.
brother, you're the reason my son isn't vaccinated. You're the reason for that, and I want to thank you for that. But these people are demons. You get up close to them like I have been multiple times on the front lines. You look in their eyes, and that level of hatred, it looks like a demonic possession, just like you've described it multiple times, Alex.
And it seems to be getting worse, more intense now.
It is. So what they realize is it's all sort of coming to an end now. You have Generation Z, which is the most conservative generation since our grandparents coming up. You have Trump, who's the best president we've had probably since Kennedy. We are going. They see their neo-Marxist, this utopian worldview that they had for America. It's crumbling, and now they're in their death throes and they're lashing out, trying to salvage what they have left.
That's right. Stay there. Kyle Chapman, a.k.a. Base Stickman. Powerful info. Stay with us. And again, once the Soviet Union fell, again, that was the globalists doing that to the Russians. It's not like the Russians were they were controlling Russia and then having it attack us. Just like the globalists helped create communist China that had it take over our jobs and attack us and buy up Hollywood. Since that fell apart, the communists went underground and they'd say, oh, communist, that doesn't exist in my own college classes. Then I'd look up the professors and they were communist. So they said, oh, we're anti-fascist. Just like when they'd arrest you if you were a communist in the 20s, you'd say, oh, I'm an anti-fascist. They're making their move November 4th. They say they're going to kill cops, burn things up, blow things up. They might do false flags, go shoot up crowds, leave literature there. They've done it before. They're making their move. They're pissed. They're losing. They're making their move. And they want to shut down our free speech. We haven't kowtowed, so they're throwing giant fits. Again, he's known as Based Stickman. I want to ask him where that handle came from. Kyle Chapman doing a great job. You can follow him on Twitter at Based Stickman _ or at Based Stickman on Facebook. BasedStickman.com is the website. The Real Based Stickman on Instagram. And he needs to be supported because he's a prominent leader living there in San Francisco, battling them peacefully at point-blank range, defending himself, standing up against it. Is he from Texas? I like the Texas flag on that fellow's chest. So tell us more about yourself, more about how folks can support you and where you see this fight going. But my gut tells me Vegas was just a probe, just like that intelligence officer was saying earlier. Just the same intel I got from folks that I can't get into. It looks like they're getting ready to make their big move, and everybody better understand the fact that we're winning politically and intellectually only enrages these dirtbags. They want to get us on our knees, like you said, so they can rape our wives and literally torture the hell out of us. Leftists always tell me, in crowds, they go, when we take over, we're going to torture you, and we're going to get you. That's who they are. They are scumbag demons. So continue.
So, yeah, like you were saying, I think Vegas was a false flag. It was a probe. It was one of the most blatant false flags that I think we've seen in a long time. I'm not sure what the Trump administration is doing in regards to the investigation. But
it's just too complex for them to tell the public, what I've been told. Yeah, but they're trying to figure it out. It's so bold and so insane that they're just like, what is this?
Yeah, so like I was saying, I think they see their plans of this, globalist New World Order, dystopian world that they were going to create coming to an end. And what you're seeing now is the quickening. They are stepping up. They are accelerating everything because once we get 4 and 8 years of Trump and Generation Z comes to voting age, we're probably going to see another 4 years of Rand Paul. Conservatism is coming back. The right wing is coming back in a big way, and they need to take control now or 8 years from now when people see how fantastic Trump is going to be. They're going to have a very hard time regaining the control they once had. As far as November 4th is concerned, I would be very, very concerned about that. I think we're going to see some serious false flags, some major disruption. People in the Patriot movement will be targeted. As you described earlier, I was ambushed by 5 masked Antifa members in Berkeley while coming home from a political rally. And they were intent upon smashing my window. Then they're going to bear mace me, yank me out of the car, and beat me half to death. These people are serious. It just recently was released that members of Antifa here in Oakland were meeting with ISIS in Hamburg and in Syria.
Oh, we confirmed. I can't get into all of it, but and it's also been in the news, but they are literally training and merged with Islam publicly. Soros is funding it. And that's why I want to warn the little meth heads and people that are their soldiers. People start attacking me, man. It's going to be wild, wild west. So, I mean, I'm packing at all times. The whole crew is. We got guys on the roof, okay? So people need to know we're in a absolute stance of defense right now.
As everyone should be that's in this movement. You know, as I said, things are going to get stepped up. People are going to be targeted. You know, the connection between Antifa and ISIS, you know, ISIS sees that in Western nations, you already have about 1/3 plus populace of that nation that has been indoctrinated to hate the nation. These social justice warriors, Antifa, these communists, they despise Western civilization. They want to destroy it. Of course, ISIS knows about this. The jihadis know about this. So they have reached across the aisle, and they are trying to, and they are aligning themselves with people that millions, tens of millions of people that are within Western nations that hate their civilization and want to tear it down.
And they're making their move. And again, they want to dominate other people. They don't want to have free market and watch the incredible civilization of choice. They lust after power. And those of us that don't, who are just private people, we're confident, we got our own lives, we just are blind to their ambition.
Yeah, so it's a totalitarian, tyrannical ambition. These people want to control everything you say, everything you do. This is why we have to be very careful when it comes to hate crime legislation. You always have to push back against that. The reason why Western Europe is in the position it's in is because it is a hate crime to speak out against the Islamic invasion that is occurring there. It is pretty much a hate crime to be a conservative or a Christian in Western Europe. We cannot let these totalitarian tyrants craft legislation and pass legislation that makes it impossible for us to fight back as a civilization, a people, and a culture.
And don't you love how the globalists are destroying our sovereignty? They're the outside combine. Then they point at all of us trying to restore the country and say we're Russian agents. I mean, again, it's the total flip.
Yeah, you know, if people are still buying the Russian agent story at this point.
Boy, if the Russians are trying to make our jobs come back and take care of the veterans and turn the economy back on and everything and bring optimism, and yeah, boy, I tell you, those are some bad Russians.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the whole Russian thing. It's so laughable at this point. I think the only people that believe it are the real basket of deplorables and irredeemables that are on the left and the neocon right.
They're just a bunch of miserable scum that want to run everybody because they're jealous of everybody that's successful. Briefly, we're going to do 5 more minutes with you, and Paul Watts is coming on with some breaking news. How do people financially donate, or what can they do to help you win this case? Because we don't back each other. For people that have been chosen like yourself to be persecuted for fighting back when Antifa was attacking you for not laying down, then they're going to pick more of us off with false charges.
Sure. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, you guys can go to backtheright.com. It is a right-wing crowdfunding website for right-wing people. I have been kicked off of almost every single crowdfunding platform out there.
That's right. So the great news is we're building our own. It's good. That which doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yes, sir. Backtheright.com, Bay Stickman. You can go there and donate. And that's probably, or you can go to Gruntworks, Bay Stickman store. You can get some T-shirts like this.
Yeah, I love that T-shirt. I want to, let me see that. It says, good night, left said.
Left side.
Sorry, I didn't mean to help you knock your camera off there trying to make it tip down. Hey, we're going to come right back to you in the next 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask him where he got the name Bay Stickman. I still haven't done that yet. That's coming up here in just a moment. Before I go any further, speaking of us, we are under attack. And I don't say that in a whining way. I'm very proud of it. But we're champions platform for people they're trying to shut down. We're a focal point, a rallying point, like a standard in a battle, a flag. And they want to destroy InfoWars. Now, every time we just stand up and pray to God for support, it comes through. But we got big specials running right now. A bunch of them are about to stop today on Anthroplex and on colloidal silver, 50% off, and on a bunch of other products at InfoWarsLife.com. DNA Force sold out for almost 4 months, is back. I don't know, just read about it. Find out what it does for your cells, your body, the detox. It's unprecedented. That's 25% off. The super powerful, highest quality that we could actually develop with top firms out there. Biome Defense, 50 billion live organisms in each pill. That is back in stock. Limited supply of both of these. Believe me, I wish I could keep it in because it sells out so quick. The formulas are so complex and so high quality, it's just hard to get them. 93% vote on Biome Defense out of thousands of reviews. And we've got so much more. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. And you fund us, we will continue to move forward. Just don't trade with the enemy, folks. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Chapman, how did you get that handle?
Well, Alex, I didn't choose the name. While I was in jail after the first Battle of Berkeley, my video of me defending myself and other participants at the March 4th rally went viral and became known as Bay Stickman. I guess some people on 4chan or 8chan coined the term. We really don't know exactly where it came from. It's somewhere out there in the web.
Well, that's your name now. Again, people should support you. I love the fact that you're selling T-shirts to support yourself. That way you promote freedom, promote free speech, what they hate, while help funding yourself. Tell folks how they get the T-shirt.
Yeah, you can go to Gruntworks Bay Stickman store, and you can purchase a whole line of T-shirts, everything from Antifa T-shirts to T-shirts with my image on it. And you'd be supporting myself and Gruntworks, which is a veteran-owned and run company.
I like the Texas flag stuff. What's going on there?
Okay, so both my parents are from Texas. We've been there for multiple generations.
So you're an evil Texas transplant. So like LA and San Francisco are invading Texas. I guess you've invaded them.
Yeah, so...
See, that's what's wrong with you.
I consider myself a Texifornian. So I lived about a decade in Texas. I summered out there with my cousins and my uncles. Growing up as a kid in the Dallas and in the Houston and the Fort Worth area. My family helped settle Dallas. My mom's side of the family fought in the Alamo. And then my great uncles on her side all worked for Willie Nelson. I grew up going to the Pedernales Country Club as a kid. I met Willie several times. So I consider myself a Texan first, Californian second.
Yeah, back in the old days, the old Pedernales Country Club, there was hardly anybody at that thing. You say Pedernales Country Club, that was just that little place over there.
Yeah, over there near Beeville. I used to go there as a kid.
Yeah, that's a little inside baseball right there.
Yeah, my Uncle Bobby lived on that. My great Uncle Bobby lived on that country club for well over 10 years. Willie took really good care of him when he was old and sick and suffering from diabetes.
That's Willie's little country club over there.
Yeah. Yeah, good people, man. Love Willie.
He only built Luck, Texas later. You ever been to Luck, Texas?
I have not.
That's just something on his property. You know, his 400-acre piece of property right there on the country club and on Lake Travis. And then he bought a bunch of old churches and old real Western town stuff they were going to, from ghost towns. So he brought ghost towns there to buy his house. Pretty neat.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, Willie's a great patriot.
Yeah, he means well. He's an old-fashioned liberal at heart. He means well. But I tell you, I think he's 84, 85 now. Good Lord. I had like dinner with him the last time he was like 82 or something, but I tell you.
Yeah, he's getting up there. He can still tear it up on a guitar. I just saw him in concert about 2 years ago. He was amazing.
All right, Bass Stickman, Kyle Chapman, come back with us sooner, and we'll follow your cases out on the folds. But thank you for not plea bargain. Thank you for not backing down, my friend.
You got it, Alex. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, brother. When freedom fails, the best men rot in filthy jails. And those who cried, appease, are killed by those they tried to please. The author of That's Unknown, but it comes from the Revolutionary War, now 245 years ago. When freedom fails, the best men rot in filthy jails, and those that cried appease are killed by those they tried to please. I'm not trying to please anybody but God, and that's because I know I'm a wicked devil, but I love God, and I'm ready to fight the globalists. What about you? Paul Watson's loaded for bear. Straight ahead, we got an update on the Antifa and the so-called pedo sign. Straight ahead, I'm Alex Jones, newswars.com. All right, Paul Watson's taking over here in just a few minutes, but he wrote an article this morning for Infowars.com where he said whether this was a false flag or not, Salon, the New York Times, the left, the UN, NAMBLA are all officially trying to legalize sex with children or pushing that it's acceptable. So Paul said they're either complete idiots for letting people lead their march with this sign, or this is what they really believe. But they got their faces covered, so who knows? Now, we've all seen Rand Paul with people with KKK signs at his rallies. It turns out they're Democratic Party operatives, and they've done that to me as well. So we said could be a false flag, but here's the deal. I had Cernovich on earlier. He obviously wasn't behind it. It might have been a fan or something if it was a false flag. He's saying, hey, the media says false flags don't exist. Well, I've pointed out that Antifa is into a lot of weirdness. They're into being degenerate from my experience. You know, if a cop does something wrong in some other city and 1,000 miles away you go shoot 5 cops, and then CNN says, well, cops are bad. They deserve it. I mean, if my neighbor robs a bank, I don't go to jail. So if a cop might do something wrong somewhere, you don't go kill random cops. But that's the attitude of these people. So pedophilia, hell, that's par for the course. But what is real is Kevin Spacey saying, I'm sorry, I tried to rape a 14-year-old, or Harvey Weinstein hiring people that were convicted of raping 12-year-old boys on the set to run other children's movies, and all the stuff coming out. That's the big issue. That's the big enchilada. And we told you it's coming down, and it is coming down. But here it is, some of the news. Antifa activists carry pro-pedophile sign during Cernovich protest. No pedo bashing, no white supremacy, no Mike Cernovich, who they were calling for to be banned. Oh, what about this? Nobody's going to stop me. Corey Feldman says they'll release every name of Hollywood pedos. Is that fake too? See, when it's in the JFK files that they're staging false flags, then we have to, if they said somebody in the Gulf threw babies out of incubators and kicked their brains out, we'd have to say, hey, they lied about that in 1990 to get us into a war. If it turns out it's real, then it's real. We're not putting down the families who had babies killed. But before it didn't happen, it was fake. So we have a right and a duty to question known liars. Just like known pedophilia using pizza code words. Then the media focuses on some pizza place, makes it all about that. Everybody covers it as a trap and then says we're saying that this is going on when we're not saying it. So then they can say, oh, pedophilia doesn't exist. Really? The deputy pope just got arrested. So there's an info war going on. Now we've got this Gotham story. Mike Cernovich stole my photo. There's no proof of that. Mike heard about it later. Lied about it on Twitter and sold Trump Jr. on yet another fake conspiracy. Okay, so let's play the video of them with the sign at the front of them. And this is the kind of stuff you see. This is what's going on with the sexualization of children. So this happens. Here's the original video.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
Okay, so that goes on for a while. No white supremacy. No. Okay. Then there's another video, we've been looking, where they come up and say, why are you holding this and grab it away? So people that are in the march that they know are carrying it, who gave it to them? Why do they have it? They're saying, why are you carrying it, and tear it away? We can't play the audio because we just got it. It's got cussing, but here's the video of it, and I'll narrate. Here it is. No white supremacy, no pedo bashing, no Mike Cernovich.
Our
Watch out, there's some cussing here. Oh, you bleeped it. Oh, gosh, you guys are that quick. Then start over then. Stop it. I was going to narrate because I didn't know that. Sorry. Let's start it again where I won't talk over it. Here it is for you to see. Go ahead. Okay, so there's the sign. It goes on and on. And then people say, what is this? Why do you have it? And they tear it away. So they're trying to find out where it came from. But that's what they do to us. So I think Cernovich's point, whether it's real or not, that's something the left pushes. So that's legitimate. I mean, this is a real form of debate here. The media is going to have to report on false flags, Paul, and they say that doesn't exist, Paul. Nobody ever sets anybody up, Paul.
Well, Alex, who cares? The media, this is the interesting thing. They rushed to their defense immediately. Once again, the media rushed to Antifa's defense. They don't want to talk about Antifa, Alex, when they're literally bragging in undercover videos about acquiring AK-47s and sawn-off shotguns to massacre conservatives. Crowder got the undercover video. The media didn't touch it. They don't want to talk about Antifa when they're assaulting wheelchair users. They don't want to talk about Antifa when they're pepper spraying women in the face. Oh, so someone might have carried out a peaceful false flag against Antifa to make them look bad. Oh, poor babies, let's rush to their defense. No, screw Antifa. As a bunch of scumbags who assault innocent people on a regular basis for having a different opinion, media doesn't want to talk about it. Oh, so someone made them look bad, potentially. Who cares? It was funny. It was hilarious. And by the way, the InfoWars headline says, you know, Antifa activists carry sign. It doesn't say who created it, and it doesn't really matter.
And you say it might be fake. I mean, you say that, again, we're reporting on it. The point is, this is the crap they pull on us all the time.
Oh, yeah, they will plant people in, I mean, they're calling this an alt-right.
That's in the WikiLeaks. That's in the WikiLeaks, where they go to start fights and beat people up and say racist stuff.
They literally carry around shields saying no hate while bashing people over the heads with those same shields for having a different opinion. And all these mainstream media people defend them. Chris Hayes is out tweeting this Gothamist article saying that Mike Cernovich is alt-right. He specifically disavowed the alt-right a year ago.
Day one, he said it's a control group, like you said.
Yeah.
Who coined it? Is it you or him? Is it me? New right. We're the new Libertà.
Because the actual racists back a year ago were given platforms by the mainstream media, by the Atlantic.
And then associated with us. They give nobody's ever heard of that don't work jobs out of the blue, that used to be Democrats. They say they give them platforms and then wed them to us. No, we are not involved with the alt-right. We are, I'm a liberal.
But it's okay to say that. But if we point out that somebody's carrying a banner saying that's pro-pedophilia, you can't even talk about it.
I'm a classical Thomas Jefferson liberal. I mean, let's say who we are, Paul. We're common sense. We're live and let live.
But we have to protect Antifa's sacred image. Who cares? They're horrible scumbags. What about Todd Nickerson? Are they going to talk about that? The fact that Salon.com, for over a year, gave an admitted paedophile a platform to tell everyone how normal it was, how it was an alternative.
And then played drooling videos of 5-year-old girls dancing so they could all get off on it.
Literally, they put out this dreamlike video of him fantasizing over having sex with a child. They put that out on Salon.com. Oh, you don't want to talk about that, do you, Chris Hayes? No, they only want to talk about some banner because, oh, they're precious Antifa.
But again, look, their whole pedophile empire is collapsing. They are in full panic mode. They have the Soros people, and I'm ready for the war with the Soros people. I realize now what their game is. I'm ready for the war. I believe our listeners are going to support us. I'm going to have more news for people tomorrow, but we have the Soros law firms directly at our doorstep threatening us right now, just like they're threatening, you know, if you talk about the Podestas and their Russiagate stuff, they're threatening Tucker Carlson. You know what? I'm saddled up on my horse. My sword's drawn. I'm ready. I love it, Paul. Take over, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Alex. We are in the 4th hour of the coming up. Going to talk a little bit more about Antifa and about not just their links with pedophile groups, potentially, even though that's probably a false flag, but even more importantly, their potential links with Islamic terrorists. We're going to get to that after the break. This is the Alex Jones Show live breaking news at Infowars.com. Don't go away. We are live. It is the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. And as Alex was talking about before the break, the mainstream media rushed to the defense of Antifa rapidly after this incident outside Columbia University last night, didn't they? When somebody carried a banner, a protest banner that said no white supremacy, no Mike Cernovich, and no pedo bashing. Marching behind that banner were a bunch of Antifa activists. So basically, even if it was a false flag, and again, who cares, Antifa may have been false flagged with the pedo banner to make them look bad. And my take on it is, boo-hoo, cry me a frigging river. These people attack innocents all the time. They pepper spray women in the face. They assault people in wheelchairs. You've seen their activity over the course of the past year. They behave like actual Nazis while claiming to be fighting fascism. Oh, so somebody may have made them look bad. Nobody got hurt. Who cares? Again, mainstream media doesn't want to talk about it when they're literally scheming in undercover videos to acquire sawn-off shotguns and AK-47s, which Steven Crowder exposed in his undercover video. That didn't get any mainstream media attention. Yet somebody carries a banner, whether it was a joke, a false flag or what, and they're all over it. Straight to the defense of Antifa, lying, brazenly lying about Mike Cernovich, calling him alt-right to try and portray him as a white supremacist, which is the real alt-right, and they're given that platform by the mainstream media on a regular basis because without it, they would be nothing, because the left needs this mass hysteria, this moral panic to try and tie it to Donald Trump and the 2018-2020 elections. If you actually look at the alt-right on its own without the aid of mainstream media, they're pathetic. They don't have any platform. They're magnified many times over by this Trump derangement syndrome hysteria that's provided to them on a regular basis. Now let's get into some more Antifa news, which ties into this. This is a headline out of the Daily Mail, which has been around for a couple of days now, but we really need to get into it because it's big. US left-wing groups traveled to Germany for the G20 summit last July to meet with Al-Qaeda, ISIS leaders, and plot the destruction of President Trump, secret FBI investigation reveals. Now, this is an FBI document that's included in a new book, a secret FBI investigation of the violent resistance movement on college campuses against President Trump, otherwise known as Antifa, has led to an alarming discovery: the collusion between American anarchists and foreign terrorists in the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, according to a confidential informational report by FBI field officers. You remember, of course, I think it was Homeland Security out of New Jersey officially listed Antifa as a domestic terrorist outfit. Now, this document shows there's a clearly overwhelming evidence that there are growing ties between U.S. radicals and the Islamic State, as well as several ISIS offshoots and splinter groups, states the FBI report, which was delivered to Acting Director Andrew McCabe on July 11, 2017, which is being published for the first time in the new book, All Out War: The Plot to Destroy Trump. The FBI report on efforts by Islamic terrorists to recruit followers amongst violent groups like Antifa, and it corroborates President Trump's controversial claim following last summer's protests in Charlottesville that left-wing anarchist groups are just as dangerous as right-wing white supremacists. This is the greatest challenge to law enforcement since the Weather Underground and the Black Panther Party, the FBI report declared. So they've got this connection between ISIS groups, between Islamic terrorists and Antifa. They've confirmed it. The FBI is releasing reports on it. We, of course, reported on this, I think it was back in 2015, actually, in a story where we focused on a ISIS propaganda manual. And there was a section in that manual, I think this was just after the Paris attacks, actually. The headline was European Muslims allying with left-wing activists. That was the segment out of ISIS's official propaganda magazine. And it says a growing population of left-wing activists, people who are against human animal abuses, Zionism, and austerity measures, look up to the Muslims as a force who are strong enough to fight against the injustices of the world. It seems that many of these people, who are sometimes part of anonymous and anarchy movements, again, this is ISIS propaganda I'm reading right now, probably get arrested by the government, thrown in jail for 15 years, but whatever, will ally with the Muslims to fight against the neo-Nazis and rich politicians. They will give intelligence, share weapons, and do undercover work for the Muslims to pave the way for the conquest of Rome. It goes on to say that there's a connection between Muslims and left-wing activists because they broadly share the same goals. So that was ISIS in their own manual in 2015 saying we can recruit far-left militants because we broadly share the same goals. Now we have an FBI report saying that that is exactly what's happening. And obviously the vast majority of people who protest Milo Yiannopoulos and Mike Cernovich events don't have anything to do with ISIS. They're not meeting with Islamic terrorists. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's going to be a hardcore, hard left element that will be interested in doing that, and that represents a domestic terrorist threat, given the constant death threats that these kind of groups come out with, which happened again last night. Mike Cernovich, during his speech at Columbia University, amidst all this controversy over the pedo banner, the Antifa march, it didn't turn out to be a mass riot. There were some skirmishes, but it was a protest. And during the speech, they got inside his speech. They tried to interrupt him. One of the individuals basically, by proxy, made a death threat against Mike Cernovich. We've got the clip. Here it is.
Well, welcome to everybody, especially the people who haven't realized that you can only talk to 50 people that I like, or you can throw a fit and rhyme it, and I'll talk to millions. You piece of you talk to millions. You're my intern. You are my marketing intern. Thanks to you, I will get millions of people watching my message. So thank you very much.
So there you have it. That was during Mike Cernovich's speech last night. Someone's going to pop you, you little bitch. That's what one of the Antifa activists inside his event said. Obviously saying somebody's going to assassinate you because, God forbid, you have a different opinion to us. Again, violent rhetoric. We've seen violent action on behalf of Antifa. Now we're seeing reports that there could actually be a link with Islamic terrorists. And again, the vast majority of people are going to have nothing to do with this. But the hard left, militant hardcore will. We saw what happened with the Weather Underground in America in the 1970s. They carried out attacks. They killed police officers. Antifa is heading the same way. We had photos from the inauguration, if you remember this story back in January, where after the riots during the inauguration, there was an Antifa activist who showed the Trump supporters an ISIS flag on his phone, showed them ISIS propaganda beheading videos. That story was on Infowars.com. I'm going to get into it after the break. But again, it shows the alarming connections between Antifa and some of these militant Islamic radical groups, which the FBI is now reporting on. There you see the headline, anti-Trump protester displays ISIS flag beheading video. That was during the inauguration. So he's obviously into it. Whether it means he's going to go and join ISIS or not, or be recruited by them, doesn't mean that. But it shows ideologically there's a connection. And now the FBI is saying potentially there could be a physical one. We'll be back on the Alex Jones Show, 4th hour after the break. Don't go away. And we are back on the Alex Jones Show. We have an incident in Manhattan where it looks like there's been a shooting and potentially pedestrians and bicyclists being run down by a vehicle. Let's read some reports. This is a breaking news story. This is out of breaking911.com. Box truck mows down several pedestrians in Manhattan. Here's what we know. Several pedestrians and bicyclists were run down by a vehicle in Lower Manhattan Tuesday. According to witnesses, a man in a box truck veered off the road and struck the victims. The unidentified suspect was later taken into custody. There was multiple reports of gunfire in the area following the incident. It's unclear if these reports are related. Unclear if it was an act of terrorism, but we've seen before shootings that follow these kind of events in terrorist attacks. We've seen it in London where this initial vehicle attack is just the start. Then potentially other individuals go out and attack people with weapons, with knives or guns in the aftermath of that. But again, we don't know what's happening. Daily Mail reports at least 5 injured in shooting reported in downtown Manhattan. At least 5 people are feared to have been injured in a shooting in downtown Manhattan. The first report of the incident came over the NYC police scanner radio. Singer Josh Groban also tweeted after hearing gunshots while out walking his dog. He tweeted, "Oh my God, I just heard gunshots and ran with my dog." Other reports suggested a car drove into the bicycle lane and mowed down cyclists and pedestrians. The NYPD could not confirm the information, and it's spreading on social media. There is a video in the breaking 911 news article, which shows, at least from what I can see, 3 or 4 victims lying prostrate on the ground, apparently having been hit by this vehicle in Lower Manhattan. It doesn't seem to be that, obviously it's horrific and tragic, but there doesn't seem to be that much gore. So if you want to grab that video, you might want to roll it if you want to make that decision. But at least 3 or 4 victims down on the pavement. They're talking about injuries. None of these victims are even moving by the looks of it, so it looks pretty bad. Couple this with reports of gunshots. Again, if it was just the vehicle thing, you might call it an accident, but there are reports of gunshots and multiple people being injured by gunshots. So this is a breaking story right now taking place in Lower Manhattan. We don't know if anybody's been apprehended. This literally just happened. NBC News now reports that the New York Police Department is saying 1 person is in custody following a shooting in Lower Manhattan. Multiple people have been shot near the West Side Highway and Chambers Street in New York City. That broke just a few minutes ago. So they've got somebody in custody. The question is it connected to this vehicle incident where it appears like numerous people have been run over by a vehicle in Manhattan? We await full stories on that. The New York Times has just reported on it. They say police respond to reports of shooting in Lower Manhattan. That article is behind an ad wall, so I can't even read it. So again, this literally just happened. Chambers Street and Greenwich Street is the location. Several injuries at least. Somebody is claiming, BNO News, again, not verified, that at least 2 people are dead in a truck and gun attack in Manhattan. Multiple people apparently shot. Let's go to Fox News, who are reporting NYPD responding to reports of shots fired in Manhattan, so they don't really have anything new on it. But people are talking about casualties, they're talking about injuries, talking about potentially 2 deaths. There is virtually no other news than that, but it appears from initial reports that it could be a terrorist attack. That's all we've got so far, so we're going to flip back to that in a second. There you see a video from Fox News of some of the victims. It looks like a tragic incident. Doesn't look like an accident. It's equally tragic either way, but again, this could be a terrorist attack in New York City. Given what's happened, obviously, in Europe over the past few months, we've seen this all before, haven't we? The combination of the truck attack and then the subsequent gun or knife attack, specifically called for by ISIS in their own propaganda manuals. Again, we don't know who is behind this. There's no information on it, and there won't be for a while in terms of the culprit, but it definitely bears the hallmarks of what we've seen before, unfortunately, throughout Europe. So we'll wait until there's a little bit more news on that, and we'll get back into it. But again, it ties into what I was talking about, which was terrorism before the break, with this FBI report saying that left-wing activists could now be becoming radicalized and potentially meeting with ISIS. Of course, we had the article from the inauguration after the riots when Trump was inaugurated, where we had this Antifa activist showing Trump supporters an ISIS flag on his phone, showing them ISIS propaganda, showing them beheading videos on his phone. So again, the FBI is concerned about this. We've had the New Jersey Homeland Security list Antifa as a domestic terrorist group. So this is a real concern as this polarization increases, that it could turn to terror, as it did, of course, back in the 70s with the Weather Underground. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well. Maxine Waters has come out with another zinger. She's now blaming Russian bots for disrupting a town hall and hanging posters outside a venue. Bearing in mind, this is the same Maxine Waters that said she would take out Trump in a speech earlier this month. Absolutely insane comment. She also said that evidence of Russian collusion with Trump was that Putin, remember this one, invented the phrases "lock her up" and "crooked Hillary." She actually made that claim and said that Putin inventing those phrases, which there's no evidence he ever did, was bombshell evidence of Russian collusion with the Trump administration. Well, now the far-left Democratic spokeswoman claims Russian bots recently disrupted her town hall event and even hung up posters outside her town hall. A Republican challenger, Omar Navarro, who's been on the show, tweeted about her latest insanity earlier today. Maxine Waters is so out of touch with her constituents that she just blamed Russian bots for disrupting her town hall. So again, let's go to the quote from Maxine Waters. She said the hashtag appeared. She's talking about impeach Maxine Waters hashtag. The hashtag appeared to be coordinated with large elaborate posters that were posted outside the town hall venue by disruptors. So she accuses Russian bots of creating this hashtag, then says it was followed up by people, or by Russian bots. I guess they just became sentient and became actual humans, posting banners outside her town hall events. Absolutely incredible. But what do you expect from Maxine Waters, given her alarming, nonsensical statements which come out on a regular basis? Let's dip back into this breaking news story because we're trying to figure out what's going on. In Manhattan, reports of multiple gunshots. NYPD says that they have a suspect in custody. The NYC police scanner now reporting at least 5 people shot in downtown Manhattan. Some victims are likely. A car, this is out of News Executive again, none of this is confirmed, it's all breaking. Some of this later turns out not to be true, but we're just covering breaking news. A car drove onto the bike lane in Lower Manhattan, multiple people injured, including some in serious condition, driver in custody. If we can roll that video again, that's what we saw, people in a bike lane, obviously easy targets if you're deliberately trying to carry out some kind of terrorist attack. NBC says that the NYPD has 1 person in custody. That's just about all we know so far. Let's see if there's anything else. That's about it. Checking on Twitter, the breaking news is apparent terrorist attack is what it looks like, a combined vehicle and shooting. But again, if they apprehended the guy who was in the vehicle who was responsible for this carnage, which you see in the video now, it appears those people don't seem to be just injured. They seem to be at least seriously injured, if not unfortunately dead. Some people are saying 2 people have died. And this is the situation now in Lower Manhattan. Multiple people run over by a car, multiple injuries. Not a white nationalist or alt-right, says Mike Cernovich, but he's talking about the event that he had last night. I'm just reading this off Twitter because people are covering it. Westmonster reports possible major incident in New York, shots fired, suspect arrested. So the question is it just one guy? Have they arrested the guy? Is the attack over? Or was the shooting a separate attack carried out by a separate individual or individuals? That's what we're waiting to find out right now. We're live. It is the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. Before we get back into this breaking news, I just want to tell you about some of the specials that's available at InfoWarsStore.com so you can support this network. We have InfoWars Life Biome Defense 50 Probiotic. It's back in stock. It's our highly rated and all-natural formula. It's loaded with our tried and tested 50 billion live probiotic cultures from 23 different strains known to support digestion and intestinal function. It's available back in stock right now at InfoWarsStore.com. We also have Brain Force Plus still running that 50% off special at InfoWarsStore.com. This is the leading nootropic. It helps you think more clearly, gives you that cognitive boost that you need to perform the most strenuous of mental tasks. It really does clear the brain fog. It is Brain Force Plus. It is the supercharged special, 50% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. That is Brain Force Plus. We also have available at InfoWarsStore.com for a limited time only ozonated olive oil skin cream. This is back in stock at InfoWarsStore.com. It takes 3 to 6 months to make, so this is very rare indeed. We've created a revolutionary new ozone-based skin moisturizing cream that leaves your skin soft and healthy with all natural ingredients. Pick yours up right now for the special price of $29.95 at InfoWarsStore.com. Now we're talking about what's going on in Lower Manhattan. We've had a potential terrorist attack. NBC News reports at least 5 people have been shot near the September 11 memorial. A large number of police vehicles could be seen near the West Street and Chambers Street in Tribeca Students from the top-ranked Stuyvesant High School and other witnesses in the area tweeted they'd heard gunshots. They're saying it's not clear if the two scenes are connected. We have another incident where cyclists in a bicycle lane have been apparently mowed down by a vehicle. Not clear if the shooting and that are connected, but obviously common sense would suggest that they are. We've seen this report. We've seen these kind of incidents throughout Europe. BBC News reports casualties reported after New York attack. Suspect has been arrested in New York after people were reportedly shot and mown down by the driver of a car. So they're saying that the two events were carried out by the same person. NBC is saying they could be different perpetrators. Multiple reports on social media suggested a man had driven at cyclists, possibly in a cycling lane, before opening fire in the lower Manhattan area. Police said they made at least one arrest. They've also urged people to avoid Chambers West Street area. So the BBC seems pretty convinced that it's all one incident. NBC said it could be two separate incidents, but this is happening. This has just happened literally in the last 30 minutes right now in lower Manhattan. Another report out of BNL News states the police have shot the driver of the truck that mowed people down in Manhattan. So again, the suggestion is that he got out of the truck after mowing these people down, and we've seen the carnage on the streets. We saw at least 4 or 5 people lying prostrate, not even moving. Presumably, he then got out of the truck, ran to a different area and started shooting at people. At least 5 people shot, potentially 2 dead, is what the breaking news reports are suggesting. Obviously, that's all subject to change. The unfortunate reality of these incidents is the casualty toll, both injured and dead, almost always rises once the full scale of the horror is known. So this has all the hallmarks, even though we don't know who carried it out, but it obviously has the hallmarks of an Islamic terrorist attack. We've seen the same thing in Berlin, Germany, in Stockholm, Sweden, in London, England, all over the past 6-8 months where these attacks have happened. We had one in London Bridge where they mowed down people on the bridge, got out, ran into a nearby area with knives and started knifing people. I think 13 dead as a result of that attack. This looks like it could be on a similar scale. So we can only hope that the reported deaths are in fact just injuries, but that is what is happening in lower Manhattan, or what has just happened as of 3:20 p.m. New York time. Driver of the truck is believed to have plowed down a bicycle lane on the West Side Highway, mowing down cyclists before coming to a stop. It's not clear if that is the same person who then opened fire. So that is a breaking news story. And of course, War Room immediately after this broadcast will be sure to pick that up and bring you the latest on that. Let's dip into a few final news stories here in the last 5 minutes of the show. This is out of Fortune. Facebook, Twitter, and Google reveal how many people saw Russia-linked posts. The activities of Russia's shadowy internet research agency, which pumped out divisive social media content in an attempt to drive Americans apart, you know, like the mainstream media does on a minute-by-minute basis, continue to come to light. According to disclosures made to Congress, the Troll Farms post reached 126 million users in the US on Facebook over the last couple of years. Now, that sounds a lot, but it's over 2 years. And by reached, I mean, what do they mean by that? If you're scrolling through a video, for example, on Facebook, one view counts after 3 seconds. You don't even need to have watched the video. You might even not have noticed it for that to have counted as a view. You're talking about 126 million on Facebook over 2 years from an entire army of troll bots. That is not even that much. And to emphasize that, the article goes on to state, as for Twitter, the microblogging service identified and suspended over 2,700 internet research agency linked accounts that posted around 131,000 tweets between September and November of 2016. Now, they said between that period that those tweets were viewed or had impressions amounting to around 288 million times between September and November 2016, the key election period. Again, sounds like a lot, but I was getting sometimes above that for a 1 month period during the election. In fact, one of the election months, I got over 300 million impressions on Twitter just from my one account on Twitter. They're talking about an entire trollbot Russian army, this feared army that can influence and swing elections. Didn't even get the same amount of impressions on Twitter that I did, and they had double the amount of time to do it. So again, this plays into the ignorance of people who don't really know how Twitter and Facebook work, and how getting, if you got 288 million impressions over the course of 2 months as an individual, that would be quite impressive for somebody who's not, a massive user who hasn't got 20, 30 million followers on Twitter. I mean, I was getting that back a year ago with probably about 300,000 to 400,000 followers on Twitter. So they're talking about the whole feared, legendary Russian trollbot army didn't even get the same amount of impressions on Twitter that I got over a 2-month period that I got in a 1-month period. Again, I'm not saying, oh, look at me, how great I am. I'm saying they've exaggerated the reach of it because it all ties into this Russian collusion hysteria, which they need to keep fanning the flames of. Now, of course, Keith Olbermann came out a few days ago and attacked Tomi Lahren for wearing a U.S. flag. This is out of the American Mirror. Keith Olbermann violates U.S. flag code 3 times to attack Trump. Keith Olbermann must have graduated from the Hillary Clinton School of Projection and Hypocrisy. So, of course, Olbermann came out with this tweet, who, by the way, Olbermann's put out a book called Trump is Effing Crazy. And on the cover of that book, Keith Olbermann is wrapped in an American flag. He's basically wearing an American flag. There you see the image there. But of course, Olbermann got on his high horse once again with his Trump derangement syndrome and tweeted at Tomi Lahren for wearing a US flag, uniform, outfit, costume. He said, patriotic, BS. She's in violation of the US flag code. The flag should never be used as wearing apparel. Well, people dug up the actual US flag code, and it says, well, 1, the flag should never touch anything beneath it, such as the ground, the floor. Go back to that Keith Olbermann picture, the cover of his book. The flag is touching the floor. And secondly, the flag should never be used as wearing apparel. And Keith Olbermann is wearing the flag in that picture, just as Tomi Lahren is wearing the flag. So again, Keith Olbermann, the ultimate hypocrite, caught again, tripped up by his own BS. German police arrest 19-year-old Syrian suspected of plotting high-profile attack. Of course, we have events unfolding in Manhattan. German counterterrorism police have arrested a 19-year-old Syrian suspect who nurtured concrete plans to carry out an attack by detonating an explosive device with the aim of killing as many people as possible. That is in Germany, where Syrian refugees have previously blown themselves up at music events. They got a massive problem. In fact, they've got lucky. They've managed to stop many of these plots. This was another one that was potentially massive that they just managed to stop in time. Unfortunately, it looks like in Manhattan, they didn't get the chance to stop what looks like a terrorist carrying out an attack, and Owen Schroyer will be back on the War Room to cover all that breaking news. This is the Alex Jones Show, Infowars.com.
Before we even had civilization 6,000 years ago, humans communicated through the clothing that they wore, the society they were part of, what class they were from. And today we see the leftist, the globalist, controlling fashion, controlling culture through Hollywood and through their media systems. But more and more there is a rebellion against that system. Clothing is a statement, and it's essential to make that statement by wearing your colors loud and proud, just like I do when I'm out on the streets of America. So right now, folks, we're going to debut some new shirts and also some of the classics from the InfoWars store. This is one of our newest shirts. It's a limited edition. I'm calling it InfoWars in your face. It's a navy blue shirt, really high quality, feels great, fits great, with a big red Infowars.com right in the center, and on the shoulder, Infowars.com, and an American flag on a blue background. And remember, WikiLeaks shows that organizations like CNN are owned by foreign multinational corporations hell-bent on enslaving this country. So when you expose them as fake news, you're doing your patriotic duty, and you're exercising your First Amendment in defiance of their bullying, garbage, and tyranny. And on the back, Infowars.com is the standard of real news. And of course, this classic says it all. Need I say more? You want to have a political message out there? You want to state the facts of Americana and stand against the horrors we've seen in Russia, China, North Korea, Venezuela? Then this is the shirt for you at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, if you want to be a little bit more low-key, this is a brand new shirt, hot off the press, of the same great fabric that's InfoWars with an American flag. This is more stealth if you just want to basically reach out to other fellow travelers that are awake to the worldwide revolution against the globalists. And this shirt, the Spirit of 1776, is a great addition to do just that. At InfoWarsStore.com, we've got more than 15 versions of different Molon Labe in Latin or Come and Take It in good old-fashioned English t-shirts. And right here on the back, the good old Don't Tread on Me, Infowars.com to spread the word. I designed this baby. It's an AK-47 saying come and take it. And then the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment is the type that fills up the image of the firearm. This shirt is the second oldest shirt in our arsenal. It's been around about 19 years. It's the classic InfoWars Tyranny Response Team shirt. And of course, we've seen the NFL taking a knee during the national anthem to basically piss on the American flag. That's disrespectful. But when you fly the American flag upside down and explain under U.S. code that the country is under crisis, it's a symbol of respect for the nation and the flag to point out the country is in crisis. Our republic is in distress. Ask me why. This baby is a classic year-round. Good old camouflage with the Dayglow orange hunting. Don't tread on me. InfoWars. Oh, and this is my birthday suit. Mama gave me this one, so I guess I better go ahead and put another shirt on. I call this the Patriot Rock and Roll shirt. I think the image tells you what it's all about. It's all about freedom. It's all about rugged individualism. Resist tyranny. Made in America, 1776. And I've been showing you the fronts of these great shirts. The backs are really cool. Look at that back. That is pure Americana. And I almost forgot. We've got dozens and dozens of great limited edition ball caps available. The Dayglow. Perfect. Now, when you're out jogging or out walking the dog down the road. And this is my favorite ball cap. Over 20 ball caps we put out. It's got the nice patch, Infowars.com. This, my friends, is the ball cap that I wear when I'm out and about in town. The crew absolutely loves it as well. Thank you all for your support, and check out the amazing Liberty apparel at InfoWarsStore.com.